Good morning and welcome to the council meeting on the 12th of November. This is our first council meeting where we have our new councillors today, and it is actually a very special day that you are going to witness because we'll be swearing in a councillor this morning. So I'm going to ask Walton to open with Karakia for us.
Tata ki noi tata e. Haro nei tonu mata whakawhaiti mai nei tēnei ata ngari. Tēnei tira, ngā kaikauni hera e hui ana I tēnei wā mahu tunu rata I arahi. Whakahananga te kaikauni hera hau nei a Anne. Mahu tunu aia I arahi I roto I enei momo āgotanga mahi. Engari rata katoa e hui nei tēnei rā. Engari ka inoi tonu mata katoa ngā tūmata nui kei konei. Ko kai tonu mai ki tēnei o ngā huinga, a te whakatakoto o rata nei kaupapa, ko koe tonu ka arahi, ka teki tonu I a rata, engari ko te tūmanako hoki, ke tai atu te wā, ka tau pai ai ngā kaupapa katoa mui a mata, engari a nei tonu mata e tūpera nei o mata nei ngā kau ki hau tonu mai, tō hata pai, tō maraki roti a mata moaia nei, moa ki tonu atu. Ameni.
Ameni, thank you for that. Okay, let's get into it. So most of you will be aware that we had our swearing in a couple of weeks ago, but Anne could not join us then, so I am going to invite Anne Huriwai forward. So Anne, it's a really straightforward process, but I do want to welcome you to the team here today. Thank you for joining us. And what I'm going to ask, where's the Bible? One Bible, please. So while we wait for that, so today Anne will be sworn in. So as soon as she has signed on the dotted line, she is part of our team. So we're just waiting for our Bible and then we will go from there. While we are waiting, can I please ask all councillors and guests, please make sure your cell phones are turned to silent or turned off. Also all computers, please turned down for this process. So I might just talk a little bit about our process today. I'll start off with some housekeeping, then I will invite Trish to do a public deputation, then I'm going to invite Amy to do a public deputation. I'll talk a little bit about this as we move forward and then we go from there. So Anne, what I'm going to ask of you is to put your hand on the Bible. You read this out loud. Nadine, you come up please because you do need to sign this as well. The floor is yours.
I, Anne Huriwai, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Gisborne District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a councillor of the Gisborne District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information Meetings Act 1987, or any other act.
Fantastic. Well.
What's that mean?
Yeah, in a minute. There we go. Okay. Apologies. Councillor Parata. I move that. Seconder? Seconded by Councillor Ria. All in favour? Contrary? Carried. Any declarations of interest for anything we have today, and if you forget to declare your interest, please, when we get to the paper and you think of that, please let me know. Whose phone is on? Please turn the phones down. Councillor Rio.
Kia ora tātou. After reviewing Auditor General's advice in relation to conflict of interest, I believe I have a perceived non-pecuniary conflict. In consideration of the nature of the decision which needs to be made for the purpose of paper 25277, the Ngati Oneone Ranfurly street sales, because that Because those concerns include the exchange and sale of assets, I will not be voting. I do not wish to compromise the decision of this council because of my perceived conflict due to a immediate family member being a member of the trust. Kia ora tātou.
You've got that, Jill? Thank you, that's noted. Can I take you to page 5, our non-confidential minutes? Moved by Councillor Telfer, seconded by Councillor Gregory. All in favour? Contrary? Carried. Okay, we've also got minutes. No, that's all good. Governance plan.
Your Worship, through your Worship, on the governance, and I just want to note what's not been listed on here, but you will be receiving at the December meeting the application or approval to endorse a plan change for our sustainable land use.
Thank you for that. Any acknowledgements or tributes that I am not aware of? Councillor Ria, thank you.
Tato. I would just like to acknowledge all of our primary school teams that went primary school kapahaka competition, and also a congratulations to Te Kura Kaupapa Māori o Te Waiu, who hosted the Junior National Secondary Kiwarahi Tournament in Whakarua Park. It was a beautiful 2 days. Te Kura Kaupapa Māori o Te Waiu were amazing, gracious hosts to 15 junior high school teams from across the country, and they also won the tournament. So I just want to congratulate them as well.
Councillor Tibble.
I'd just like to acknowledge Lee Tamahori in his passing. He's lying in state this morning at Anota Station. He will be buried at 10 o'clock. For his contribution to New Zealand filmmaking and to the world, and the many people that he influenced and helped launch them into their careers. Behind that, I'd like to also acknowledge Nanny Lucky Rubin, who is lying at state at I Te Kai Marae in Ruatoria at the moment, a great contributor to that hapu inside Ngati Pro and its comfort and development. Kia ora tātou.
Thank you for that. Okay. So now we're going to move to our public input and petitions. Trish, I would love to welcome you to come to the front. You can sit down. Good morning. No worries. So just for public, there's more seats here. Thank you. Okay. So public deputations for those, and we've got new councillors today, to public deputations is if someone asks if they can speak for 10 minutes about something that's on the agenda. So Trish, if you maybe 8-9 minutes, and we can leave some time for questions, but the floor is yours. Nothing will be debated now. Councillors can ask questions of clarification, and then later when we get to the paper, we will be doing debating and asking more questions of staff. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the newly elected and returning councillors. Nice to see you. My name is Trish Atkins, and I'm a local business owner, ratepayer, and I'm the spokesperson for the Wednesday Grey Street Restoration Group. I'm here to express the concerns of many Gisborne residents, business owners, drivers, cyclists and pedestrians who regularly use Grey Street, Childers Road and Kahutia Street. I'm here to speak about the Streets for People trial. As stated on the GDC website, the trial ran from August 2024 to 31 July 2025. This 12-month pilot aims to make the streets safer, more accessible and welcoming for all users, whether on foot, bike or behind the wheel. Our group has several issues we'd like to address. First of all, the narrowing of Grey Street from a nice, wide, straight, commercial-friendly road to a windy go-kart track that has introduced daily dangers. Vehicles are forced into very tight spaces, increasing the likelihood of sideswipe or head-on collisions. Vehicles leaving properties and businesses have to negotiate the footpath first, then the cycle lane, then the parked cars, which further block vision from both directions and lead to unsafe manoeuvres. And don't get me started on parallel parks. The concrete planter boxes are unsafe, and I'm aware of multiple reports of near misses and actual impacts. These structures are unsightly, they obstruct visibility, especially for the children due to their height, and they sit far too close to the live lane. They allow very little time for avoidance should something go wrong, and in our opinion, they should be removed entirely. The intercity bus stop configuration is another major issue. The bus and bus shelter roof have already been damaged because of the tight design. When pulling up to park, buses are forced to the left and due to the narrowed road corridor. The passengers' bags are being loaded and unloaded directly in the live lane at times. And additionally, when the bus pulls out from its park, the front end is forced into the opposing lane due to the road width compounded by trees in the roadway. We are also seeing a risk for cyclists. Instead of using the new dedicated cycle lane, many cyclists and scooter users are choosing to ride either on the narrow road or on the footpath. This clearly signals that the cycle lane design is not intuitive or safe. The cycleway is disconnected, starting at Childers Road and ending around the skate park with no continuation in either direction. A cycleway only works when people naturally choose to use it. When they don't, that appears to be a design failure. Next, I want to draw your attention to the crossings. The pedestrian crossing on Childers Road, where the green free cross area gives bikes and scooters the right of way to ride straight across. This directly contradicts long-standing road safety teaching in our schools to dismount their bike or their scooter before using a crossing. The current layout reverses this training and confuses both children and drivers. Other new crossings, from the Tyre General to Ray White on Grey Street, in front of the Cosmopolitan Club, further down in front of the skate park, from the skate park to the pump track, are a mix of pedestrian and courtesy crossings. Most road users like consistency, and to achieve this, if any of the crossings were to stay, we suggest they be courtesy crossings, perhaps with the exception of the skate park for additional safety. This would provide consistency with the many, many other courtesy crossings that we have along Gladstone Road and better align with current behaviour, current teaching and established road user expectations. This may also alleviate an issue for our youth who are sitting driver's licences where Grey Street, Childers Road intersection and pedestrian crossing has been the reason for several driver licence failures, test failures. Road marking clarity is another serious concern, and I've had many people comment to me personally about the confusing and worn paint lines, especially in the wet weather. When drivers cannot clearly see lane boundaries, they drift into oncoming traffic, compounded by the chicane style of markings, creating many near-miss accidents and incidents. Several people have told me they intended to report these issues and near misses to GDC or the police using the 105 system. Although I am unsure how many of these reports were actually lodged, regardless, the concern is consistent. The markings are not clear enough to guide traffic safely. Also, much confusion remains about the use of blue paint on the road surface. As stated in the Streets for People publications, this dedicated space is public space. As a mother, I have never encouraged my children to play on the road, yet here we are, a council providing shared spaces with art and hopscotch on the road. There is also a widespread frustration about the loss of parking. By our information, parking is reduced from around 90 parks to around 47. Businesses have repeatedly said they are losing customers. Clients simply cannot find a place to park. For example, the eyesight parking has dropped from 4 spaces to 2, creating unnecessary congestion and discouraging visitors. This is especially inconvenient for our elderly who wish to book their intercity tickets. The dental centre has lost several car parks and expressed concern also for their elderly and disabled clients. Other businesses have noted a reduction of walk-in customers directly related to a lack of suitable, convenient parking. I've seen firsthand the frustration of public, ignoring the current parallel style parking and reverting to the angle parking of old. Surely a red flag that something is not working. The speed humps and judder bars, both on Grey Street and Kahudia Street, are adding to driver frustration and slowing emergency vehicles. When Kahudia Street was remedied after public outcry and an admission of design failure, the reintroduction of the stop signs included installing judder bars leading up to these, surely an unnecessary expense. Furthermore, to have these on a key connector route on a road that is formally recognised by NZTA as part of the high productivity motor vehicle network, which confirms its role as a critical access corridor for heavy vehicles, emergency and through traffic, these obstacles feel unnecessary and poorly positioned. Many comments in both discussions that I've had personally and online forums have described emergency vehicles that travel down this road with lights and sirens on at a seriously low speed due to the speed humps and judder bars. These may be there to calm traffic, but they're not seeming to calm public opinion. Many residents are concerned about this very expensive misuse of ratepayer and taxpayer money, asking, how did a $350,000 project cost nearly $1 million? I've struggled to get that past my accountant. To summarise, the road is too narrow and unnecessarily windy. The planter boxes are unsafe, visibly intrusive, have already caused damage and must go. The intercity bus layout forces unsafe luggage handling in the live lane. Cyclists are avoiding the lane, a major red flag. The Childers Road crossing creates congestion, contradicts what schools teach, and if retained, should at least be changed to a courtesy crossing. Worn and confusing road markings are contributing to vehicle lane drift, which is dangerous. Parking loss is hurting local businesses. Speed humps on both streets should be removed. So we respectfully ask the Council to pause, review, and carefully consider their options before more people may be harmed and more businesses are impacted. We believe that based on the 4 options suggested, none are perfect, but number 2 appears the closest. As it removes everything, it appears the most cost-effective with no ongoing costs. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening. Oh, and by the way, no GDC vehicles were harmed in the making of the Grey Street programme.
I think you did a great job. You came well prepared. Any questions of clarification? Teddy.
Yeah, I realise you were protesting for quite a while. Did anyone from GDC contact you or approach you in regards to your concerns and try and resolve things so it didn't carry on?
No.
Over the whole time?
We had personal discussions, but nobody ever approached us at the protest or about the protest directly. No.
You mentioned option 2 would be your preferred. Is there any, because to me it doesn't make sense to get rid of things if they are of use. Is there anything in the project you could see staying or potentially staying?
As I mentioned in my presentation, we've got an awful lot of courtesy crossings in Gladstone Road that appear to work quite well. When there's a mix of pedestrian crossings and courtesy crossings in the same area, it does become a little bit confusing. I'm a driving instructor, and I actually find it pretty confusing when we're trying to teach our students, oh, this one's a pedestrian crossing, but this one's a courtesy crossing. And you've only got to spend a little bit of time there to realise that most Gisborne people don't know the difference. They don't know that they have to stop for the entire time for someone to get off that pedestrian crossing. And so what's happening is they're either breaking the law by going before the people have cleared the crossing, or they're not stopping at all for the pedestrians. The Grey Street one, Childers Road crossing, Childers Road Grey Street one outside business applications, the green one, that creates even more confusion because of the free lane that the vehicles and other cyclists and the scooter riders have got. They just zoop across there, they don't take much notice, they're expecting everyone to stop. Because that's what they're taught in their driver's licence and in their learner's licence. These kids are expecting cars to stop. And because we know that cars don't always do that, and we're not always obeying the law in that respect. There are times where I think those kids are particularly at risk. The other thing is, as a driver driving through there, if someone stops, it starts to cross that starts to cross that crossing, we're supposed to stop. And what that's doing is creating congestion in the roundabout. And that's why some of our kids are failing their tests, because they're having to stop in the roundabout, which is actually a critical and an instant fail in their licence. So at least if they were courtesy crossings, if they were all courtesy crossings, you know, that kind of follows the same procedure as what we've got in Gladstone Road for clarity. I'm all for safety, that's my job, and I think that if there was any opportunity, you know, the one outside the skate park could stay as a pedestrian crossing. But in saying that, it needs to be, what's the word, you know, like it needs to be monitored so that, you know, the police or whoever it is actually saying, well, you know, this is a pedestrian crossing, and making sure that drivers obey as well. Because, you know, it's, I understand that the whole thing was about safety, but yeah, I just think there's major concerns, and hopefully I've covered them and they're clear.
I think you did a very good job. Thanks a lot, Trish.
Okay. Thank you for listening.
Amy and Mona, can I please invite you up? So it's the same process, about 8-9 minutes, and then leave a minute or two for questions. Thank you. We're ready to go? Just make sure the clicker works, so you can click it to the computer. The floor is yours.
Sweet.
Good morning, I'm Amy Spence, and this is Hamona Ngata.
Morena koutou. Morena.
So we are part of the Tairāwhiti Adventure Trust. GDC has strategies and policies that promote passive transport. Gisborne City Centre Spatial Framework was developed from the 2015 Urban Development Plan and Strategy. Long before Tairāwhiti Adventure Trust existed, the objective was to make it possible for the community to contribute to how our public places look and function.
So this project has been in the council pipeline for well over a decade, basically.
So we should have when we started as the Adventure Trust, there was a decrepit skate park, no pump tracks, not much happening really. Tairāwhiti Adventure Trust has built over $6 million worth of free assets for our community. Large skate park, 2 pump tracks, an all-weather sports court, a playground. We've hosted a number of international events and national events at these facilities, plus others. We run orienteering events, trying to activate our community to get out, get active. This is to name just a few of our projects.
And so, yeah, as we can kind of see from here, this is a document from 2019, a council-driven document signifying that Grey Street was an optimal place for this kind of alive street with the connector from the river to the sea, right? So this is 2019. Again, it's got elements of tactical urbanism that are used in the current Streets for People project that is signalled in this document. And it also gives detail to the linear park concept around the changing of the roadway and the adding of bikelet and spaces and places that make the street more alive, so to speak. And so we shift forward to where we are now, basically. So I think we proposed this one in 2022, 23. And the basic concept was, we built the skate park and the pump track. Holy mackerel, there's heaps of kids here. We kind of need to slow the street down a bit because it's a busy space and place. So why don't we activate the street with different, I guess, community events for our community to get involved in, things like markets and pop-up movie nights and all that kind of stuff.
In order to make these assets safer and to keep our community safer after a few incident reports that became evident, we needed to slow traffic down on Grey Street and have a safe crossing. There were 3 near misses reported of children being nearly hit as they had to leg it across the road. We therefore worked with NZTA, which had a fund available called Streets for People. We applied for this fund along with Gisborne District Council. For the first stage, we put a safe crossing across Grey Street, which is what Trish just discussed, the crossing by the skate park. It was connecting the 2 assets and allowing the community a safe place to cross. We installed a 5-minute drop-off zone, so there was a safe place for parents, caregivers to pull up, unload their cars, skateboards, bikes, barbecue stuff, then go and safely find a park without having to hold up all the traffic. We had funding to get an upcycled sports container placed down at the skate park and also funding to run a bike program. We'd worked with local iwis for an overlay of amazing design, telling the story in the artwork.
And again, this comes down to the analytical data that formed the design that the designers worked on. So there's all a variance of critical data here in these kind of surveys that we ran at the Grey Street Food Festival. A lot of traffic movement data that came in. We manually counted the data, so we had people down there with pens and paper and stuff, zipping along. And yeah, it all kind of collated all this information that defined the design. And project activations, we had a whole year's worth of project activations lined up for Grey Street, basically. A recycled sports facility, recycled sports equipment facility. We even had like a community bike program as well, which would be free to the community. And the actual program will be run on the Grey Street Cycleway. So people will be able to learn how to use a cycleway. It's all about education and awareness at the end of the day. And as Amy pointed out, during the process, we started to unbundle a lot of kaupapa to do with that whenua there, and the kōrero and whakaaro that came through from that whenua. And as we kind of delved into it, it became apparent that we needed I guess a tohu or a driver of this project, and hence we liaised with Sir Derek Lardeli, and he kind of gifted this whakaaro of Tai Ueha to the project. So the toi that you see down in there is directly connected to the whakapapa of that land which Grey Street sits on. So Tai Derek kind of unbundled a whole lot of kōrero and was able to kind of manipulate the tohu into different designs that gave a nod to the mana whenua of that physical land down there. Again, everything's kind of configured in an artistic way, but the pūrākau and the stories that come out are connected to that land which Grey Street sits upon. And so this is a lot of the kōrero and the design that you kind of see down there now. Aware that probably a lot of this wasn't communicated and a lot of outgoing conversations of the project. And it kind of drove us to where we basically are now. There's the design, as you can see it, with all the elements pinpointed out. And yeah, I guess in summary, Amy?
Well, so the Grey Street was designed by a lead transport planner from Wakakutahi that had designed various cycle and walkways across New Zealand. His brief was to come up with a plan that would help us slow traffic down and make it safer for our community. Again, these designs were shared with the community for anything that needed to be changed. This project was supporting passive transport. However, our big stumbling block came with the comms for the project, which was actually led by council, but it appeared the communication plan and everyone was screaming out for communication is probably where things went slightly awry. This is the point where things changed, and as we rolled out stage 2 trial, the implementation of this ran way over time, and our funding for the upcycled sports container, which we just showed, and our Learn to Ride bike program to be based down there was all cut. We all learn from these projects, but seriously, even if you look at the surveys like you do at the moment, yes or no, seriously, how about gathering real information like why don't you like it, what would you like to change, how would you like to change it, what isn't working, what is working. Council voted on all this back in 2013, 12 years ago, and had a number of votes again since then wanting change. We put our necks on the line for this project. There's been a big reduction in the number of accidents at the Karakia Street intersection. It has slowed down.
Please do not comment. Everyone was quiet when Trish was speaking, so please be respectful.
We hear that people don't like the original design. So look, it was changed. Parts of it has been changed. If you put it back to the way it was, someone will be killed. Not if, but when. And that's not through the death threats that I've received on this either. Yeah, it's not perfect, but none of us are, and that's why we can still change it, as remember, it was just a trial.
I think that's the thing, it's a trial, right? It's able to be manipulated. Councillor Teddy Thompson signalled he was concerned about the Kahutia intersection from the start. Cool, he allowed, let's have a look and see if it works. A couple months later, hey, we can revise it and we can change it, which is what happened. That kind of process and step through was meant to happen for the entirety of the project, and for some reason, didn't happen. Why? I don't know.
Examples from other regions is that culture change is hard, but we need to hold the line to achieve a vision. Look at Christchurch. They had no cycle network, no areas for passive transport. A large-scale earthquake changed that, and they are now the leading region in the country with active people and an active economy. Kaikoura is the same. We have some amazing places and spaces created also in Tauranga, Auckland, Rotorua, to name just a few. We are seriously going backwards in this town by reinstating 1980 car parks with roads wider than any European country, France, Italy, Greece, with populations far exceeding our tiny town. Tairāwhiti Adventure Trust remains in the opinion that we need to slow traffic down and protect users of Alpha Cox Hub, and we will remain advocating for an active community.
Thank you. Any questions of clarification from Amy? No. This is not an open meeting, this is a council meeting. Any questions of clarification? All clear? Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, councillors, so I will first just set the scene for the day because as you can see, we do have no extraordinary business, we have no notices of motion, we have no adjourned business. So what I'm going to do today is also to help our new councillors in this process, and I ask that senior councillors guide our new councillors, that they also have an opportunity to say something if they wish to. As always, I say I do run loose standing orders in order to give people the opportunity to say what they want to say. For people in the public, by law, you're really only allowed to let 3 people speak for it, 3 people against it, and then you need to put it to the vote. Here in Gisborne, we do want to make sure councillors get the opportunity to say something if they want to. Saying that though, please don't just say something because you want to say something. If you agree with what someone else said or you don't have new information to add, kapai, not everyone have to speak on every issue. We do have a huge agenda today, so I just ask that everyone is mindful as we move through this. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to go to the Grace Street Scheme Review paper. Who is going to speak? Tim, thank you, and Dave. Are there 2 seats over there? I'll move it this way. Okay, so for the new councillors, the process is that we will give Tim and Dave to give us a 2-3 minute review. We had a little walk through yesterday to take a look at what is being proposed, what can be added, what can be changed. What is in the paper is not everything. There's lots of different options, and that is why point number 3 says provides direction. So that is why we are here today, to listen, and then we will open the floor and take it from there. Thank you, Tim.
Morena koutou. Also just acknowledging the depositions this morning, and you might find that we have levels of agreement on both sides of the discussion there. The paper largely taken it as read, but we would like to add a few comments related to the discussion this morning about road width, road straightness, I guess, the amenity for the bus usage, the street furniture and other issues. We feel those are all elements that can be adequately addressed, as well as parking. And part of the discussion today is about finding a way forward with that. It obviously is quite a complex element, quite a complex piece of work between 2 areas. Maybe the ambition of it at the outset was part of the reaction by community as well. So we consider it as really welcome any questions you might have. There were some options for consideration about amendments going forward, and we also note that the trial period initially was 24 months, but we reduced it to a year in recognition of the elevated concern amongst our community. So ask for any questions from
Okay, I'm going to open the floor. Councillor Telfer.
Just around the options provided, I've just got a query around the funding. It says here that there's funding NZTA portion. Is that available? If we are going to go and do any of these options, is that money actually available from NZTA, or are we looking at funding it itself? Because when it says there NZTA funded, a percentage of the cost of each option, is that available or is it not?
Through the Chair, for options 1 to 3, the answer is yes. That will come out of our existing budgets. Option 4 is because it's a footpath, and footpaths are basically seen as improvements under the change of government policy statement for transport. Funding allocations got swapped. So for option 4, if you want to do the footpath in this immediately, then that would have to be 100%. Or you'd have to wait till the next funding round with NZTA.
So walking and cycling has been deprioritised by NZTA between when this project was envisaged and today, government policy. So there's no funding in any present budgets for walking and cycling elements from NZTA.
So is there clarity with councillors? So all options 1, 2 and 3, the funding options on page 13 shows, and there will be a NZTA, so NZTA cover 67% of the cost, but for option 4, because it is a cycleway, council will then have to carry all the cost. Ka pai? Okay. Councillor Alder.
A considerable cost, or portion of the cost in option 2 is presumably removing the paint and artwork of the tarmac, and the option is given to reseal. Are there any other cheaper options, and how urgent is it to remove the paint, or to remove the artwork?
So that was 100% the full range, of the upper tier in terms of the cost. So when we the site investigator, we visited the site, we could actually just put, you could black it out, but what will happen is after 12 months, it'll start coming back to the surface again. So that's why if we are going to change it, then it's better to put a resurface.
Yeah, there are lower cost options that can be looked at in detail, including potentially painting the return of car park over the existing paint, if acceptable. We just have to look at some of the safety elements if it was to create confusion for road users, and some we might be able to do some tactical removal of particular paints in certain areas. In regards to we've scheduled reseals. The scheduled reseals would solve everything if your goal was to remove the painting, because that would be no different to a normal budget. You're just resealing the road. So part of our thoughts is working with our cadence of BAU work to reduce those costs. The cost is presented generally the upper end of what we considered required. So the question you're asking is welcome.
Thank you.
So can I ask that so obviously option 1 is do nothing. Obviously option 2 is a full reversal. Can you just take councillors through what option 3 means, so that people know what is being proposed 3 and 4? If you can just have a quick walk through so that people are on the same page.
So option 3 it just focuses on the cycleway elements, and so what it says is those components will be removed. There'll be other elements that will stay there, which is on page 31, it details it. So it just focuses on the removal of the cycleway in stating parks. So what it says is we'll remove the cycleway markings, the separators and the signage. We would full reseal the carriageway to remove the surface artwork. We'll reinstate former parking and curb marking, so that's angle parking and not horizontal parking. But we will retain the zebra crossing and raised crossing. Okay, and there's some elements that we update.
So your worship, if the councillors can refer to page 31 of your agenda, it outlines the option 3, and then it also outlines the performance metrics of option 3 along with options 4 as well.
Okay. Councillor Thompson.
For me, there sort of needs to be another option for me, like a 2B option would make sense, because I think we do need a pedestrian crossing by the skate park for safety. And I've just got a question in regards to the street lights. Like, why do we need to remove the street lights? Like, why is it necessary to remove the street lights? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Is that the street light by the crossing point by the Cosy Club?
In regards to full reversal, it mentions removing the street lights. I'm just like, it just doesn't make sense to remove perfectly good street lights just for an option.
Agreed.
So, that's what I'd like to suggest, a 2B, keeping the street lights, pedestrian by the skate park. Things that sort of make sense to me.
Libby.
Sorry, through you, your worship. There was an additional street light installed kind of in the car park carriageway area to ensure appropriate illumination of the new installed pedestrian crossing near the club. Yeah. So there is an additional new street light that sits within the corridor of parking and roading, which was to illuminate the pedestrian crossing. So if the pedestrian crossing was to be removed, we would need to remove that street light because it sits in the corridor. It would no longer be fit for purpose.
Thanks for that clarification.
Councillor Rio.
Thank you, Richard. Initially, I was in favour of option 4, just because I really did want to consider the cyclist aspect, given the health and well-being indicators for future generations and giving them a place to be able to commute safely along the road, because it is a really large footpath and there is really enough space for that to happen. But given that option 4 comes with no NZTA funding, I really do feel it's unfair for that full costing to come back onto the ratepayer. So I then went back into looking at the other 2 options, and I do believe it should be a mixture between option 2 and option 3. I'm a walker, and so I walk Grey Street 5 times a week. I walk down it 5 times a week, and this morning when I walked down it at 6:45 or 6:30, I looked at it like I have never looked at it before, with really intensely at what worked, and I've taken notice about who's using what, and I absolutely agree that that pedestrian crossing that is right outside the skate park is very necessary. The toilets are directly across the road, the pump track is directly across the road, the access to the information centre is directly across the road, so I feel like that pedestrian crossing is extremely important. The other, I've barely seen it used. So if it is, and thank you to both our kai kōrero this morning who gave their whakaaro. So I'm a definite believer that that should be retained, that the rest of the road should be returned to its original state. And I think too that option also keeps the cost extremely low, because then we don't have to remove a pedestrian crossing and we have the funding there to be able to reverse some of the other things. And whether it's in the place of that second crossing, which is down outside the Cosy Club, whether that is a little hump just to slow the cars prior to getting to the skate park, maybe that's a possible consideration, but right now a mixture between option 2 and option 3 of a full reversal but retaining the pedestrian crossing that is directly outside the skate park. It would be my...
Anyone wants to add anything new, or no, you're not going to speak again until everyone has had a turn, or don't take their turns and then you can have another turn.
I just want to ask a question.
Yep. So we're going to do Larry, Debbie, Nick.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've just got a big question about resealing the area to get rid of the artwork. I mean, the artwork around the skate park area, in particular, is it just signifies it's an area of high youth, and it's actually aesthetically really nice. So I don't see why we need to cover it over and with the expense of a resealing. And why would the road itself seems in pretty good nick? So why is resealing part of the program? If it's just a part of the normal program, it shouldn't be lamped on top of this, because that would be normal maintenance. So I don't understand why that resealing, because that would be the major cost of this exercise, I would imagine. So I'd like to have an explanation on that, please. If it is part of a program of work that needs to be done for that street, or is it just to cover up the artwork?
Yes, I can answer that. Yeah, it's to cover up the artwork, because it'll keep coming up, and it'll just be ongoing maintenance. So if you wanted, we provided the high cost options, but if you want to remove the paintwork or the artwork, then you have to do the reseal.
So that's not just the normal no parking markings that are there now, where to stop, to get rid of the parallel parks or the angle parks.
Yeah.
So you've got a reseal to cover over that.
Yeah, going over that.
Can't just water blast it.
No, or you'll still see the crossing. Even when you water blast it, you'll see the elements of the paint line, and that's where you start getting the confusing lines that go over.
Just with regards to option 4, when we talk about converting the footpath to a cycle pedestrian thing, what exactly does that involve?
It'll be something similar to Wainui Road. Yeah, and also you'll find some of those access crossings from the vehicle entrances. There'll be a bit of transition. It'll be worked out so it's not
so tough.
So abrupt. Yeah.
Thank you for the report, and thank you for the submissions. I do fall somewhere between option 2 and option 3, with the preference more to option 3. But I think we've discussed much of that already. I do have an anxiety with fellow councillors about the removal of the artwork. I think if that artwork is to go, it should remain in some other form on the site, because those sorts of tohu and pūrākau are significant to that place and the iwi from there. And if it is to be removed, then give some thought to how it can still be represented at the site, adjacent to the park, adjacent to the information centre, so that we continue to uplift the cultural identity of our region. Through the tremendous work that's already been done, and that work has not been wasted.
No, you've already spoken. I'm just trying to give everyone an opportunity, and then we will give other people opportunity again, and we'll open the floor again. So I'll have a go. So I'm just talking about the 2 presentations earlier. Trish has piqued my interest when Trish spoke about the different crossings and the different meanings of crossings, and some are courtesy crossings, and I agree. I also lean towards a mix of 2 and 3, but definitely keeping the one at the skate park. The one question I have is, what we tried, or what was one of the aims of this trial, was to try and slow down traffic a bit in that area, but also keep it functional for ambulance and businesses, which it didn't. This layout did not do that. Can we, if we go for a combination between 2 and 3, later take a look that if there is a need, like Trish said, for a possible courtesy crossing from Childers towards the skate park, can we then later look at that, or once it's gone, is it gone? Because what we don't want is to remove it, and we want to keep the bits that might possibly still be needed. Or do you think, from a safety and a staff perspective, that the one crossing by the skate park will do the job?
It's through the chair. I think that's why we've suggested hybrids too, because there's a lot of different options coming through. But definitely by the skateboard park, absolutely.
Sorry, Your Worship, in terms of slowing the traffic down, the other option that you could consider at a later date is basically reduce the speed to 40.
So there's an option as well, if we want to talk later, is to, just like we do down Stout, I'll come back to all councillors soon, just like we did with Stout Street, you can see it right from here, is then once we observe and then say this is a 40-kilometre zone because it goes into the kids' area. Okay, that's me. I'm going to open the floor one last time, and then we need to make up our minds. I am going to start. Teddy, you ask first to go again.
Yeah, my additional comment was if the aim is to slow down traffic, why don't we just reduce the speed? That was the additional comment I was going to make. But yeah, my stance is option 2, and keep anything that sort of makes sense, like the pedestrian crossing or the skate park.
Okay.
Yeah, look, I'm in favour of option 2 and a bit of option 3, just to retain some of the elements. I think it's real important we retain some real access around the skate park and retain that area in a way that pedestrian crossing, not make sure it's a pedestrian crossing going across the road. Yeah, and as far as there is an option to reduce speed limits, but we've had massive backlashes every time we've looked at reducing speed limits. People are in favour, people aren't. But I see an option for a raised crossing outside the Cosy Club, which is well away still from where all the kids are crossing.
You mean like a proper concrete one?
Yeah, in that area there, it can be used as a courtesy crossing as well, but it's actually a speed limiting. It gets it away from the roundabout. The ones coming out from the roundabout at the moment are a hazard, and people are getting jammed in those roundabouts, and it's totally against. So, but just yeah, that's where I am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move option 2 to hurry things along a bit. We can debate which we should keep and which we should lose till the cows come home. So with that motion, I'd also like to ask the council to consult with our local experts, who are undoubtedly Trish Atkins and her crew have lived and breathed this issue for a year. And if they were to talk with the local experts and add back in, let's start with a clean slate and add back in the elements that are seen as most important to retain. That would be my push.
So can I just quickly clarify? So you just need to clarify, so what did you move, a hybrid of 2?
Option 2 primarily.
But with the hybrids.
With consultation to retain elements that are deemed as being seriously important, and to keep costs as low as possible, which might be retaining artwork.
So what we are saying is, make sense?
Not really.
So what we are saying at this stage, and I'm asking any councillor that want to speak against it now is your time, because we can go around and around. The gist around the table that I picked up was that people have read the report, we have done the trial, we have received the feedback. We want to remove bits which the public have highlighted to us, but we don't want to chuck out the baby with the bathwater. We do want to make sure the components that keep the area safe are kept there. Is that the gist of what you are moving? Councillor Ria.
I would be in support of a hybrid between option 2 and 3, where The majority is a full reversal, but we also prioritise some pedestrian areas that we've identified throughout this
With
discussion.
consultation from the community. You happy with that mover?
Well, that's fine.
Last question, Councillor Foster, take it home.
Yeah, thank you. You know, in option 4, we've got a cycle, a shared pathway. I mean, what's the difference between most pathways now are shared anyway. They're shared with cyclists and pedestrians. So I wouldn't want to see us just go back to the original option where we just had a pathway that was just a pathway and cyclists couldn't use it. So why can't we just have that as a shared pathway? Why does there have to be any expense put to that area to make it a cycle?
We didn't choose option 4.
Eh? No. Oh, no.
So why are you asking a question about option 4? No, I just want to clarify.
I'm just trying to throw it out there. You know, by what we're doing now, we're just kissing goodbye to every little cyclist opportunities for going down there. They're going back on the road again. Okay, that's fine. So why can't we just have, you know, a lot of footpaths around the place now are perceived as being shared pathways and cycleways. So why can't we just say the same there and allow cyclists to cycle on the footpath?
And that was discussed yesterday when we were here. It's a wide footpath there, but you do need to take into account, and there's nothing that a lick of paint can't.
On that discussion, we thought the pathway bit was a little bit like the art, where we would want to phase it or let it come to its natural end if possible, but just ensure that there's no confusing elements for road users, principally drivers really. And because there's very limited or no funding from our funding partners NZTA for specific cycleways, there indeed might be a guerrilla approach that's very low cost to achieve it. We haven't gone into that detail yet. Right. If we can achieve it as such, and we've presented numbers that are sitting at the higher level of the band, right? So we think the numbers will be less, and it might be something that we develop over time, rather than being able to just pull the trigger on it immediately at great pay expense.
That would be my concern, that we're just going to say, well, okay, it's going right back to where it was again. There's a footpath there, no cyclists, and back on the road. You know, I think we're going way backwards with that, and that's not really the intent of that area. The intent of that area is to have good access from the river to the sea. That was the original concept. You know, so...
Through the chair, some of the findings have been that cyclists are using that already as preference to the set cycle. So that's really good information. Yeah. So that also gives us direction, and then if we can reach agreement on the wider issues, it's something that we can bring back to council in the future, and hopefully reduce costs and as presented here.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be careful.
Last question, Councillor Gregory.
Did anyone second Aubrey's?
So we adjusted. Colin is happy to adjust.
Oh, yeah.
Aubrey seconded.
Oh, yeah.
Any more discussion?
No, wait.
Yep.
Oh no, it's gone. No, it's okay.
All in favour?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to use the box more. I need people to vote. All in favour?
Aye. Can you put...
Aye.
We can hear it again because it's gone from 1 to 2.
So what we have is we've got a hybrid of option 2, which we are saying is there is a reversal, but we don't want to chuck out the bits that are working. The raised area by the skate park, consultation with the community, lowest cost, take us there. Moved by Councillor Alder, seconded by Councillor Ria. Make sense to everyone? All in favour?
Aye.
Contrary?
Sam's trying to speak, I think.
He's not trying to speak, he's just said, I voted.
Sorry.
So Sam, I just want to say that if you want to speak, put up your little yellow hand, but otherwise I need to ask you also to have your camera on so I can see when you vote, you put your hand up like this. Can you see me?
Can you hear me, Rihit?
I can, but what I'm asking is you do need to have your camera on, and then when we vote, you can just put your hand in the air like this, then I can see you voting. Kapai?
Yes, my camera is on. I hope that you can see it there.
It's not on, but we will deal with that shortly. I'm going to do it again. All in favour? Aye. 1, 3.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, councillors. Next, thank you, Dave. Thank you, Tim. Okay, I'm going to take us to our next paper. We will be moving on.
You know what I'm saying?
Well done, Jeremy.
Just remember me. Can't wait to get my concrete plant. Put a sticker on this. Should have been to the conflict.
Okay, councillors, page.
Stupid computer arms. My face.
Okay, page 37. Just refocus us all. Oh, we're doing swapsies. Okay, councillors, I'm going to take you to page 37. Okay, everyone ready to go? What are we missing? You are? Okay, let's go. Are you going to speak? Yes?
I will tag team with Jean if he's on. But thank you through your worship. So what you have in front of you, councillors, is the first action resulting from the statement of intent that you adopted earlier in the year. And so what we are seeking is we are recommending an approval of the sale of lots 2, 3 and 4 Ranfurly Street. We have looked at our policy, so the council has a disposal and acquisition property policy that was adopted in 2008, which we probably should review at some point. But that was, we had a look at that policy, what it said. It is consistent with the policy in terms of disposal. So basically that policy is saying most instances you should tender on an open market unless there is any real reason to not do so. Then you can enter into what's deemed like a private treaty or as a direct sale where it's appropriate to the circumstances. So we have looked also at our policy. It's consistent with the SOI to do a direct sale. And really it's a matter of taking questions and answers, unless there's anything else you would like to add to that, Jean?
No, nothing further to add, Nadine.
Right. Okay, I'm going to open the floor for questions. Questions or queries, and then we take it from there. Councillor Tupara.
A query on page 40, bullet point 12, the map there. This is just reference to another, because I'm familiar with the lie of the land there, just by coincidence. Just having a little bit more of a sharper image so that the notations of the map are clear to the readers of the report.
Okay, good.
But what you can't see is really it's just the technical wording around the DP 448152 and the lot size.
Yeah.
The blued out numbers.
Yeah. My question was which was lot 2, 3 and 4.
Oh, sorry. So it's these 1, 2, 3.
Foster.
Thank you. I'm happy to move this paper. I think I go past the land every day and there's horses on it, and to see it being used for a benefit would be a great value to this community, because it's like been no man's land for such a long time. We acquired it from the port back in 2016, was it? A long ago, and we haven't found a use for it as yet, other than horses being raised on there. And if Ngati Oneone can convert that into a kura in that area, and seeing heaps of activity and children having fun and growing our community there, I'd be all for it. So I totally support what we're trying to achieve here. So I'm more than happy to move it.
Seconded by Councillor Gregory. Any more questions or queries?
Nadine just mentioned going through our policy. I just want to be clear on the policy that, of disposal of land. Is that you mentioned that then needed to go out for public tender.
No, so in the policy, what it says is that the wording is that the council can, if the preference is to go out for tender in an open market, so it's open and transparent, unless it's appropriate. So the wording is, however, unless there is appropriate circumstances within which a sale by private treaty, i.e. direct sale, in this case Te Ngati Oneone, is appropriate considering the circumstances. And so considering the circumstances of the statement of intent, the long historic whakapapa ties and connections to the land associated and adjacent to Te Poho Rawiri Marae, there are significant reasons to be able to justify going direct.
Just supplementary, when the market value is decided, how is that decided? On valuation?
Yeah, so that will be through valuation. Lewis and Wright will do the market valuation and provide us with a report.
Any more questions or queries? All in favour?
Aye.
3 carried. Thank you, Sam. I see your hand. We haven't had this much clapping papers for quite some time. Okay, so there are 2 massive papers that will take a very short time, because all we are saying is thank you, it's just saying we've got standing orders, we've got some templates from LG&Z, and the same for the code of conduct. So what we are saying here today, so I take you to page 49. All we are saying is we adopt it and it will all be reviewed next year. Kapai? Yes. Councillor Telfer.
Yeah, can I just have clarification on that? The adopt, when you're saying it's going to be reviewed, who is that through and who's doing it? And
we are doing it ourselves.
We are doing that ourselves, so we are going to then review this ourselves.
100%.
Is there a timeline on that?
Next year. Next year. So it will happen in 2026, like the recommendations said. All good? Councillor Green.
I just remember at the start of last term we were going to do the same, but we never did.
And remember why?
Oh, cyclones.
It was just not a priority.
Yeah.
Yeah. All good? Yeah. Okay, so who is going to move the recommendations on page 40? A new councillor, please. Councillor Muir, and seconded by Councillor Boros. All in favour? And you're going to give us a go next with the code of conduct.
Yes.
So this is the same, everyone on page 181. So this is exactly the same process that we just referred to, where we adopt what we currently have, and then in 2026 we will do a review of that. Any questions or queries? Not? No. Moved by Councillor Huriwai, seconded by Councillor Gibson. All in favour? 3 carried. Look at us move. Coffee time. Page 234. I do want to thank all of you for getting back to me and telling me what you were interested in, what you wanted to do, what you didn't want to do. I would lie if I didn't say it wasn't tough. It was, but I think we got there most of the way. There's two little faux pas that I made, which we will talk about soon. So if you can take a look at the change sheet, that's this one, on your desk. I also just want to say that our heavy rain watch has now been upgraded to a heavy rain warning. Gisborne, Tairāwhiti, north of Tukumaru Bay, 17 hours, starting today at 4 o'clock till tomorrow morning. Expects 80 to 100 millimetres of rain, peak 50 to 25. Okay. So there are a few changes. You can see, as I emailed you, is that I made a mistake and put 9 councillors on the interim water committee, and I should, the terms of reference, we're talking about 5 councillors, 4 iwi and 2 specialists, like a TRMP committee. So I need you to think about that one. Nadine, anything else you want to add? Or councillors, this is now open also for questions once Nadine has spoken.
So just to clarify with the interim water management committee, so there would be 1 independent chair, and we've noted in there it was the wording had dropped out, was up to 2 independents as well. And the rationale for, so you could have 3, but it's up to, and the discretion as to whether or not you have 2 or 3 in there. But it's to provide, given the changes in legislation, the reforms around water, the need for some kind of core competencies around the experience with governing water entities. That's why we've moved to having more independence on there to help guide the council in transitioning into the new space.
Any questions, queries? Councillor Foster.
I do have a question. We were talking about an interim water committee chair. You're saying that we need to have someone with experience with water outside the region. What happens when they come to the region and they don't know anything about our system?
Sorry, just remember how excellent the 2 TRMP commissioners were. That had nothing to do with Gisborne. It is the whole system that we are talking about. And I think they will bring exactly that same expertise which Alan and Sarah brought, which contributed so much. You agree, TRMP members? They just brought a total layer that we don't have. So I see just the same like Bruce brings extreme knowledge, being the Assistant Auditor General, he brings knowledge which we just don't have. So I can really vouch that independence like that, and I've seen some CVs already, top notch.
Okay, cool. No, that's right.
If it's any comfort, it's not to replace the local expertise that governors bring to the table, it's more to add and complement that guidance.
If I can put a little perspective on that, and most people will not remember this, in 2015 we did a big water plan, and there were lots of specialists on it. I can't remember what bylaw. Fresh water plan. It was huge. Like I had this much reading over the weeks, and we had mostly specialists on there, but myself and Councillor Bold were the local voices on there. So this is the same. We do want some local voices on there, but it is highly technical. And there will be some consistencies across what is expected of us, but there would still be that local knowledge from us.
So why does the person who is involved in especially why do they have to be chair?
Just like Bruce is the chair, it's just best practice.
Best practice. I was just thinking about the cost, basically, because that brings something that's going to be costing us quite a lot of extra as well. So, and the other thing is, we're going back to 5. We've got going back to 5 elected members for instead of the 9 originally. And I'm going to be the chair of the wastewater, and so I certainly would want to put my hand up to be part of that process because the connection between wastewater and water is very strong.
I don't want Foster, Ria, Tibble or Tupara to step down because they are the combo, the wastewater combo. And also, I don't want to kick people off. If you're really, really interested, like Councillor Gregory said, everyone can attend it still. But also we can see how it goes. What is the proposal with iwi?
And we haven't worked through what that might look like and how they.
Which for iwi will you choose?
Just for that we have treaty obligations to.
Would it be similar to what it is on the wastewater committee? I mean, could it be the same members?
It could be, but I mean, at this stage, we're just putting placeholders in there for
Because Ngati Porou is not on the wastewater committee because it's a Turanga thing, where this is a regional thing. Okay, let's just quickly go through all the recommendations and make sure everyone is on the same. So we've got attachment 1, which I will, is this attachment, attachment 1 just tells us what to do. Attachment 2 is this one with all the dots on. Attachment 3, like I said to you, there are still some, and I'll quickly talk to that as well. I've put people's names where I thought they would be best. I've got a whole team here for our youth council. I've already spoken to the Tuia mentoring group and the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, so we'll get that group started as well. I will still need someone for the waste minimisation steering group. I need someone for the YMCA. And that's the only X's that I'm still seeing. And maybe someone for sisters. Oh, okay. I'll just check because Nadine just reminded me that there was a councillor. Just see where's my little folder with everything. I'll just take a look because Nadine just said I did receive an email with someone expressing interest. I'll just check that. Yes.
I think there's probably at some point maybe an intersection between the indoor stadium development governance group in the YMCA. So if no one else is going to go on the YMCA, I'm happy to step into that.
Right, now I just see that Councillor Gibson asked, he sent an email to all of us. Sam, your camera is off again. There might be some issue there, but you can speak now.
Thank you. Yes, if it's agreeable with everyone, I'd like to be on waste minimisation if that's possible.
Let me just take a little look-see. I'm just counting where. All good? I'm glad that you're not going to try. Who spoke to me about YMCA? Okay, so all this stuff, Eastwood Hill, YMCA, Whitiora and Tairāwhiti Adventure Trust, all these are stuff, some of them will only start in action next year, so I will alert you when that is. Anyone else keen to go on the cities? That's all.
Come on, Alex.
You get a free trip to Japan.
Councillor, do you want me to put your name there?
I get a trip to Japan.
That's what I said. No, Jamaica.
Councillor Tupara will join there as well. Okay, so we've got then Bruce Robinson as the Chair of Audit and Risk, the Independent Chair for the Water Committee, reaffirms the membership of the Waiapu Catchment Hearings Committee. So for those of you that might not be across that, that's part of our JMA. If we turn over, confirms that the trustees for the disaster relief will be the Mayor and Councillor Ria. Request that the delegation manual will be updated with changes in membership numbers and any changes to the structure. So you're onto that, Julian. Agrees to make the delegations and revocations specified in the instrument of delegation in attachment 4. Agrees the Mayor can sign the instrument of delegation. Okay, so the only issue we now have is our water committee. Let me take a look at that. So you only want 5 on there?
Yeah, otherwise you're going to have a massive committee.
My only concern though is that, because I'm definitely on there, is then we can only have the wastewater people on there, because otherwise, so what we're then doing is that because what I see, those two committees, do they go hand in hand?
They pretty much do go hand in hand. So the approach that we're taking, because so just to step back in terms of the context, is that the way that we're delivering water while we are doing a business unit in-house, the reporting requirements and accountability requirements are very different to how we have been operating. And it would have been the Minister's preference that we had gone to a CCO out of Council's hands and also maybe even joined with other councils. So we are treating it with that lens of having that kind of, we talked about the expertise around that. And also considering we have a waste management committee that's already in place and it's governed by its own resource consent conditions, which have yet to be resolved through some of these transitional issues around the establishment of our water business unit. It's kind of, there are going to be overlaps until we've worked out how they might then eventually merge, which is why we're not hard and fast on the recommendations around who the iwi memberships are, because we already have that in the
waste space.
So we've just got to work quite sensitively through those nuances until we can stand up what a full water committee would look like, and about 2027 is when we go live.
So this is mainly setting up the structure, isn't it, of how it's going to work and the rules around it and how it's going to
structural. So I'm going to make a captain's call here and put myself on there with the wastewater people for now. I do know that there are people with real interests there. So Colin, you put your name forward, Debbie, Jeremy and Teddy. So at this stage what I'm going to ask is that you still attend and be part of it, but just for the formal making of it, are people okay that it is the Mayor and the 4 wastewater people at this stage? You all right with that?
I was on the wastewater committee by default, because no one else turned up. So I'll be attending it anyway.
Right. Thank you for that. Councillor Mayor, you're all right with that? Councillor Teddy?
Well, yeah, well, for me it's quite a big issue in terms of all these retention tanks and everything going with it, with the noise I'm getting from builders and everything else. So I definitely want to be there and have a say.
You can definitely have a say. The only thing I'm saying is that just to... So do you want to be on the committee and vote? Is that what you say?
Yeah, that's... Yeah, I'll this would be my...
Sister cities.
Okay. I am going to...
Sorry, can I speak again? Just noting that committee is also having 5 iwi representatives.
4 iwi.
4. And the committee, wastewater committee, is made up of the majority of Māori ward members. It's actually lacking
regional councillors?
Other regional councillors.
There's no other, there are only regional councillors.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Non-Māori ward councillors. councillors are lacking on both committees. Sorry to make you a difficult job.
You are making it difficult.
Sorry.
Yeah, no,
I'm trying to look for some.
because it's myself and Larry is on there.
Yourself and?
Larry.
Okay, I just thought I'd comment.
And Teddy. Teddy's going to be my water mate. So, kapai. So we're going to have wastewater people, Teddy and myself. All right? People okay with that? Kapai? Yeah, I'm fine. You've got that, Julian? Okay. So have we now covered everything, Nadine, that's on this change sheet? 234, including the appointment of... Yep. So are people happy with the recommendations, or do you want to ask questions of Nadine? Now is the time. It is...
Can we just go back to the interim water management? Yeah. It says in the first page that there's 5 elected members, including the mayor. So there are 4 waste managements already, and you makes 5.
I'm going to make it 6. It's Captain's call to make it 6.
Thank you.
And then I just want everyone to cast their eyes over this, because I tried to be a saviour yesterday and change Colin's committee because he's the chair. It always comes and bites you in the butt, hey Colin, because now that I could accommodate Colin, I can't accommodate him. So that's why we don't change committees once we set them, but I offered. If we can just make sure everyone is across this, because Julian will make sure this is sent out to everyone. You just need to double check that it is in your calendars as well. Any other questions or queries? Did you want to add something?
The full calendar will be coming out in the December council meeting, but if we can, we will try and get that out sooner so you can start having a look.
So yes, so we will adopt everything formally, all our dates for 2026 on the 11th of December, and then all those invites will be sent within that week, so your diaries will fill it with the electronic invites for next week, next year. Are we winning? Page 234, is someone willing to move that? Moved by Councillor Gregory, seconded by Councillor Rita. All in favour? Contrary? Carried. Just again asking, if I say all in favour, I need to see you vote. Kapai? And I also did it wrong. I'm going to say it again, and then you put your hands up, because when you vote for people, you don't say it, you put your hand up. All in favour? Contrary? Carried. Thank you. So that's also for councillors. If you appoint a person, you do it by hand. Otherwise, we do it by voice. One of the old stuff, just like wearing a chain. You know, one of the traditional type things. So, or it's in the standing orders. Don't let me be cheeky. Okay. Meeting schedule 2025. This is what we've just spoken about. Anyone have questions or queries? So you've seen that change. Did you put that change in here? The what you've changed for the local roading committee?
It's in effect.
Okay.
You just mentioned that didn't suit Tim, that changed.
So Tim, are you going to zoom into that meeting?
I will zoom in and you'll see me. I will.
You'll be sitting where Sam is currently sitting.
With your camera on it.
Camera on like Sam, big smile. Look at that big smile. There you go, Sam.
On the upper half.
Kapai. Okay, I'm going to move page 258, seconded by Councillor Muir. All in favour? Aye. Carried. Nadine, I'm going to pass over to you to just quickly walk us through this LGFA proxy vote that someone else voted on our behalf.
Thank you. Through your worship, so this is a procedural paper, really you've got their annual report that's attached there. It provides enough information for those new councillors that don't know what the local government funding agency is. So it's really a financial agency that local authorities, including councils that are part of that, get borrow from. We hold 200 shares, which is 0.4%. And we are able to loan from the LGFA at a very low rate. So what this is asking is that we agree to appoint a proxy who will vote. We will tell them what we want, how we want them to vote, and they will be before us, and they'll be
Question on page 320. Matter of interest really, but it's talking about the loans overall have moved in 1 year, I believe it's from 1 year, from 23 billion to 26 billion, which is an increase of 3 billion. Is that a normal increase or is it an exceptionally high increase on an annual basis overall?
You don't have a comparison? No. Unless I have to repeat.
So, yeah, 23 and 24, the total assets dash loans was 23.5 billion, and then this year it's 26.546. Spread over all councils that partake. It
would look large, but it's consistent with national trends overall. So,
10%
yeah. But then don't forget there's recovery. There will be councils with recovery costs and projects that would have been involved over that last while. And councils with long-term debt. I would have to go deep dive in there a bit more.
Okay, so this is, like Nadine said, procedural. We are part of the LGFA, and Tasman will be our proxy vote. Moved by Councillor Huriwai, seconded by Councillor Borosh. All in favour? We're going so fast that we will have to work very long on the executive. We'll catch up. Okay, councillors, so how I usually do this, and it will take, so you might think this is short, what's left, but usually I break it up into sections, and it's got you can see on page 354 and 355 how it's broken up. So what I usually do is let's first talk all about the central government updates, then we move to our council policies, then some emergency, and then relationships. So I will walk through, and you can ask, this is a really open field if you've got any, and this will come to each council meeting where Nadine just pulls stuff that cover most areas together. So you will see as we go through this, that this has got a consistent layout. So you will see, I'll get to you soon, Teddy. You will see as we go that this layout stays the same, and then she adds as we go. Once we are finished with that, Nadine, I'm just going to hand over for a recovery update, which is in the back of your. So whoever can, no, I will speak to that. So tell her we will, yeah. Okay, I am going to open the floor, Teddy.
At the start of the meeting, you asked for conflicts of interest. I was going to say it then, but I didn't because of the thing. On page 385, my partners applied for their Natural Heritage Fund, which is mentioned on page 385. So there's a monetary thing there, and it's coming to council on the 18th of November. So yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to be in the room.
Refrain, yeah.
Leave the room or whatever, but yeah.
Fair enough.
Clear at the earlier stage.
And just make sure when we get there that you update us.
I leave the room or I can still be there.
We'll take a look. Often you can just set aside and not to partake, not comment, not vote. Yeah. we'll make a decision once we've seen the paper on the day. I think we'll have more clarity, but thank you for highlighting that. Councillor Ria.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just in regards to the area about central government updates, I really just wanted to get a feel, because there are so many changes coming through the pipeline, and they heavily affect a lot of the Nadine staff who are working in biodiversity, who are working in environmental kaupapa under the council umbrella. So I just wanted to ask kind of are the staff feeling like, how are they feeling about the impact of all of these central government updates in comparison to some of the projects that they're not just working on now, but they may have been putting work into for 3 or 4 years, and now the central government update they've had to pivot from there. So how are the staff generally feeling about some of these changes?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Bishop. Thank you for asking. I think it's fair to say that it's created pressure. We have, like you say, we have had to pivot from what was also quite an intense reform agenda of the previous government, not to mention the waters as well, which has kind of changed tack too. So now we are undoing a whole lot of things. We're actually not doing things, and we have tried to seek exemptions where we've done a whole lot of work so we can progress, like the urban plan change, but that's sitting with MFE to make a decision on asking for more information. So that creates, it's incredibly frustrating because you've got an opportunity to be able to really advance economic development outcomes and create a more permissive environment, but we're not able to move on that front. That has created, but also some uncertainty around what the work program might look like and where we can dial up some more. So looking at redeploying some of the staff to do some more work around the forestry plan change mahi, but then we still need to get an exemption for that as well. I think, and what this sort of kind of is exacerbated by the fact that there's going to be another election next year, so we're going to put a whole lot of work into this and not know what that might look like and whether we need to change tack again. So we've been trying to be flexible in how we're approaching our work program, but it piles up and it's very uncertain. We're lucky to be part of the Wairate Kahika and the regional sector group. So they have a powerhouse that's able to help submission and lobby against some of the more environmentally focused issues that are coming up. I think it's hard also just in terms of the sector and where regional councils are concerned what that might look like for regional councils and the activities that they do. There's a lot on. And it's just trying to make sure that we don't head down one pathway and then be yanked back and need to do something else. So it's a lot of ratepayer investment and to do that.
Are we on to the upgrades?
So I haven't really started because people started asking questions. So I haven't really said, but let's. Any more questions about the central government update? So that's a moving feast. We all are well aware of everything happening. And if there are any more questions in that regard, I might just open up regional speed management plan, climate change, any questions in regard to that. So I had a hui with Linda Stewart yesterday, and she just gave us an update on where NZTA are at. And she said Minister Bishop are going to write his own a new GPS. So we just had a GPS, 18 months ago. Minister Brown got a new one. And what else did she say? Oh, she was talking about what they will be looking at as the speed limits around schools. That's something that they have to do as well. So that will be lots of feedback from the community, because some people would keep it nice and slow. Some people would be like, oh, there's only 2 cars, why are you doing it? So that's something that NZTA will be looking at. And then she will be here in person with her crew on the Regional Transport Committee with Rob on the 26th, because we kept that date. Any other questions around that? If not, any emergency management updates? I think I gave that one with the civil defence emergency for the rain. Okay, next, whakawhanaungatanga, relationships. Nadine, anything there?
Jane, anything you want to add?
Jean?
No, nothing to add.
To add. Any questions about our relationships or what's going on there?
Yes, I suppose, and it references into the question I was going to ask about.
What page are you on, Colin?
2 pages at the same time. Page 376, where Manatuki's discussion over their spend of 350,000 is likely to be delayed because of an engagement rahui by the iwi. And so that then flicks up into the subject we're in at the moment. Can someone outline what's going on there and what's gone wrong and how we can fix it?
Well, we've been trying to fix it between Nadine and I and the chair and the CEO. Jean, do you want to, that's your speciality.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. We have a meeting on the 26th of November at an operational level with the Trust. I guess the relationship has paused and is in a bit of a reset phase, given that there were differences in a view and an opinion around our relationship agreement and some of the suggested approaches to the way that work needed to be funded. And council just needed a little bit more certainty and transparency given our audit requirements and stuff like that. And it's certainly not off the table, but again, we're just needing the time to get back together in order to start to renegotiate, but really place the people's full focus on our style and an approach to an engagement that suits the rongo whakaati we trust. And there's been some movement. There's an interim person filling the chief executive sort of space at the moment too, and so those dynamics have created a bit of a lag in our ability to progress through things in a timely fashion. But as mentioned, there's a meeting organised for November the 26th where I'll be catching up with the interim CE to discuss how we progress forward.
I'm sorry, Your Worship, that speaker for my hearing aids is actually terrible. And
Can I speak? Can I say what he said? Yeah. So Jean has been involved with Rongo Whakaata. They have a hui coming up on the 26th of this month to operationally talk about the projects that we are doing and what will be moving forward or not. Currently, there's a temporary CEO in place at Rongo Whakaata. That's what he said. On top of that, Nadine and I have reached out to the CEO and the chair, and we've had a meeting with them as well. Hopefully, at the 26th of November meeting, Jean will get more clarity on how we move forward. So it is a work in progress, but I think it's fair to say the ball is in the air at this stage. In their court. So we will see, so after the 26th, we will get an update from that. Councillor Tupara.
Do we know who the interim CEO is?
Who's this interim?
Stacey.
Stacey here. Okay, Councillor Ria next.
Kia ora tātou. Just in support of Jean, I'm really supportive of all the steps that have been taken by council so far to strengthen that relationship with Rongo Whakaata. And a question around the same pages and the same data. Is it right for me to say that $350,000 fund is a shared fund pot for all 12 communities? Or is it that every single community is designated $350,000 each, which is around 4.2 million being spread out for those 12 communities? I didn't quite get a clear picture on that, so I was just wondering, is it a 35? Yeah.
Thank you, Anita.
350 per community. 350 per community, cool, thank you. That was the only question that I had.
Great, thank you. Okay, we finished with that department, people and capability. Health and safety.
Tell us what page you're on as well, because it's just really hard to follow.
Okay, because I will now have to use my special skills, because on 17 I need to take a look what page that is. Page 370.
370.
We're just looking at this stage, people and capability. This is just general stuff. And then we'll move on to the focused projects. Anyone have questions in that area? And usually these are just a good update, but if there are questions, feel free, now is your time. Otherwise, I am going to move us to our focus projects. Oh yes, first financial reporting. Any questions of our lovely Pauline? Thank you for that, Pauline. Well, then we're gliding into 374. So here I'm going to break it down into projects. So first, Nadine, can we get an update on where the Resource Recovery Centre stuff is at?
Yes, you can. So we had a request for RFI, interest go out to test the market to see how they might respond to a possible recovery centre. There was a lot of interest in that, so there's really no commitment apart from us at this point, seeing who's out there, what the innovations might be to further develop up an RFP. We are still looking at site options and the economics associated with that. We intend to come back to council, probably be in the early new year, to make a decision on whether or not to pursue the site that was purchased, and we will also bring share with you the views of who that is adjacent to the site. So there will be a decision that will need to be made depending on where those needs to be.
Councillor Thompson.
Can I just make a comment in regards to these reports we've got on the Grey Street? I want to ask it in the meeting. We had a report there from an outside of Gisborne consultancy. Is there no one in Gisborne who can? It just seems silly to me that we're giving money out of the district. Is there no one in our district that can have the resources to do these reports?
I have to defer that to Tim in terms of the quality standards that were required for NZTA projects.
Yeah, through the chair, as a region of modest size and technical capability, any work one in that space, we're typically needing to rely on expertise from out of region for the full gambit. And commonly parties who are used to that actually turn them around quicker as well. So, to your question, we as a region do rely on expertise from out of region for a lot of what we do amongst all of our infrastructure, but we do consciously try to minimise it and promote local business as well.
Thank you for that. Okay, Indoor multi-purpose. Hello, Councillor Telfer.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit confused about this recovery centre because I understood before we bought it that we went and hired a consultant to do a feasibility study on the building and the facilities, whether it was fit for purpose, and the guy that came back to us was pretty excited about the whole thing and thought it was really a great option. And now we're getting it presented to us that, or maybe we won't be using that facility that we've actually bought. I don't get it, because why did we go ahead and buy it if it wasn't fit for purpose? I'm struggling. So can I have an update of what's the hold up? Because I would have expected, we did this quite a long time ago, and I would expect by now that there are plans for it. They are not hard to get. If you go around the country and have a look at all these wonderful ones all around the country, you can pull them off the shelf of how to set it up. So I'm struggling to understand what the hold up is here. When we specifically bought a building that we were told was fit for purpose, and now we're deciding whether we're going to use it or not?
Yeah. So through the chair, when we purchased the building, that was subject to a number of conditions that the council put, which was around the iwi engagement or marae engagement piece. So at that point, there have been some early engagement. We also came to council and said, at the moment, it actually washes its face because we've got a long-term lease, we've got a lease agreement in place, so it's not costing the council anything. And we needed to also, while we worked through the views and interests of the adjacent tangata whenua. So that's what we're working through at the moment. The site is feasible. The site is a good site. So that is what the team are doing, planning around what that might look like and give further information to council around whether you want to continue or not. So it's not wasted time, Councillor Telfer. We are progressing plans, designs, feasibility, because we're pretty certain about the feasibility of that site. It comes down to a political decision that the council will need to make, but we want to bring you all the information before you do that.
Yeah, but I struggle that we are going down a path and we're spending money and staff's time looking at developing something that we potentially might not even use. I would have thought that the first thing we do is we get sign off to say, yes, we can do this before we even purchase them.
So if you do stuff, like often we make decisions and said it's hinging on this, or so if we go back to that paper and what were the recommendations that we passed, what Nadine is saying, we said we're going to do this, and there were certain, and you can talk to us now, say, doing your due diligence. So once the due diligence are done, then they come back to us and we say, now we go forward. That is my assumption from the whole process. It's not doing something blindly walking down an alley or doing work and then dumping it. It is due diligence. Is that my understanding correct?
Yeah, correct. And what we're saying in the update is that we've got a project manager, we are doing the concept design and master planning, and we will bring that back to council around, yep, that's us, let's spend the rest of the money to build this facility.
Is that coming early 2026?
In March.
March. And it was always going to come to council. You know what I'm trying to say? It's not, I'm just trying to clarify it for myself. We passed the paper with certain, if you can find the recommendations.
I would prefer if we carry on and then I can
come back to that.
Some time, because we did
in detail.
Could
Councillor Alder.
Thank you.
Alder. Please correct me if I say it wrong. I said it wrong for 18 months. Alder. Go for gold.
Could we also have a timescale on how long this process is going to take? Because we've been working around with this, Rob says, for far too long. If we could be able to give people that ask us some confidence in when things are going to start happening.
I am interested in the word mucking around. We only walked like 27 minutes ago.
Yeah. However, our rubbish and rubbish
Talking
issue.
about the whole
The whole
issue.
rubbish issue has been going on for a long time. And just on that, I brought up an issue, and it's not directly related to this. I brought up an issue that it costs you $35 to dump any amount of rubbish at the waste recycling. That is prohibitively expensive when you think you go down there with one black garbage bag, and they're going to charge you $35.
And why don't you put it in the bin with your sticker on?
These are people that come to town and visit, as happened recently. They came to town, put on an event, had a small amount of rubbish, went down there and were getting charged $35. It's no wonder we're getting rubbish dumped on our beaches.
Small event sounds to me like more than a black bag.
No, it wasn't. Any amount. A rubbish bag. It was a black rubbish bag. I put it in mine with a sticker.
Your Worship, shall we do have an operations committee coming
Right.
up, the environment is the community.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I just think it's horrendous.
Awesome. We'll thank you for pulling us back into line, because that's exactly what we need to do. Councillor Ria.
Kia ora. As a member of the Waste Minimisation Steering Group, I would like to add just a little bit to this conversation that we learnt a lesson from what happened in Grey Street, that, you know, things didn't happen. And so as we progress with the waste minimisation plant and the development of that plant, we need to ensure as we move, we're bringing the community along with us and they are in support of us. Because if we push ahead with a plough and say, no, we want it done now, no, we've got the money right now, we won't bring the right waste minimisation groups, like, for example, the Tairāwhiti Environment Centre. The advice, the neighbours surrounding, and the considerations of everyone. We've had huge discussions about this waste plant. We can get it up and running, and that's great, but the actual long-term sustainability succession of the plant itself is ensuring that the community and the surrounding neighbours of the area where it is, that they are all actually bought in and they have an opportunity to input into what this plant or this warehouse may look like, what the functions may be. So yes, it does take time to build those relationships and that trust. We already know this conversation about council rebuilding trust with factions and specific groups within the community. And as a member of that committee, I don't think that building those relationships is something that can be rushed. But in the meantime, our Nadine staff are working in the background to ensure that once we can get wheels on the relationship side of thing and the input and partnership with hapu, community groups, all interested parties, then the plan is also already done, and that's when the project can actually start to move. And that's just my perspective as a member of that committee. Kia ora.
Also, thank you, Councillor Ria, and also just want to, given we're still in the public arena, the property purchase was late March, so we aren't sitting on our hands. It has only been this year.
Okay, indoor multi-purpose, Teddy. Councillor Thompson, I should be more formal because we are at a council meeting.
I'm sorry, I'll save it for outside.
Okay, thank you for the update on the IMC, indoor multi-purpose. Who's our councillor on there? Thank you. So we will get an update on that. So it's quite straightforward, the update in there. Thank you for that. City Centre revitalisation, any questions there? We should be starting to see stuff very soon. The arty things, they are all go. So watch this space. The city is getting ready for summer. Bye. And then we have spoken about the rural townships, which is on the next page.
Just on the...
Councillor Holder.
Thank you. So with the consultation on the 350,000 with each community, do we go out there and say, here's a pot, spend it? Or how frugal are we with that 350?
Anita.
Through the chair, so we work with the community to develop the designs some of the funding is supplemented through applications to other agencies where aspirations exceed the budget. So there's always an approach there where that is managed, but also in relation to where we spend the money, we try and use as much local labour as possible to enable the cost to be managed according to budget.
Can I just add that so through the recovery planning you had $3.9 million set aside for township plans. So what happens annually is you usually have a budget around $700,000 and you do 2 townships a year, and the community, they own their decisions around what they want to have done in that township. And so the more that we can do with better, because then they can get more better outcomes.
Thank you.
And if I can put a plug in for our rural townships, I just spoke about it on Radio Ngati Porou on Monday. They ask for stuff like footpaths and a playground or a place where the school bus can turn around. Really, really basic stuff. They just want the real basics. Usually a playground, usually the footpath, the stuff that we are doing with some of the recovery stuff are footpaths where kids then don't need to walk on the road to get to the school. And so the community really think hard and long about it, and usually the ask is way bigger than the pot of money available, and then they need to decide what is the highest priority and take it from there. And then often we help them apply for external funding too. Any updates on the TRMP on top of what is in the paper?
No, unless Charlotte had anything that
Charlotte, anything that we need to know TRMP-wise? All good? And then the regional policy, so we're on page 379 at this stage. Urban stuff. Okay, the flood intelligence stuff. Really interesting as well. Lots happening there. Page 381. Give us an update on the deliberative.
Oh yes, so through your worship, really it is just a note around what we did with the deliberative democracy project, that the call to action brochure that they provided us with all the action points that they wanted us was considered by the Sustainable Development Committee. That was done in July. We have also included the call to action and the information in the business case that you will receive a copy of. It's just about finalised at the next committee, at the next council meeting. So that was really just to kind of tie that.
Okay, let's move into our green finger space, biodiversity, page 385. Sam's got his hand up. Sam, Councillor Gibson, because we are in a council meeting, let's keep it formal. Thank you, the floor is yours.
On that note, what's the formal way that I address you? Is your worship or your worship? I've got a question around the Natural Heritage Fund. Again, we're oversubscribed this year, which is really exciting because there's some great projects that have applied. And I also see further down the page that we reached out to an external funding provider around this. I just like to get an update on where those attempts sit now that we have wrapped up those attempts on bringing in an additional funder to that oversubscribed fund.
Thank you for that question. Amy, thank you.
Kia ora koutou. Through you, Your Worship, thank you for your question, Councillor Gibson. We were unsuccessful in bringing on some additional funding for the Natural Heritage Fund. It was primarily because the funder had set up a similar agreement down in Hawke's Bay, and following the initiation of that agreement, they realised that they were then unable to fund any other environmental programs outside of the funding that they had provided to a third party to manage, and they were not happy with that restriction on the way that their funding had to be distributed, so they chose to pull out of the discussions with us on a similar arrangement.
Supplementary, Amy. Given the sheer amount of work and the efficiency of the work that gets done through the fund, do we have any additional funders or any additional strategies to increase the fund over the next couple of years?
Through you, Your Worship, we don't have any other funders in mind currently, but we're certainly open to building relationships. It's a
work in progress.
It's a work in progress, and somewhat a tricky space because other funders are in a similar situation where their funding needs to be very targeted under their own funding deeds, and therefore fitting in with council structure is not that easy. They don't have the flexibility to do that. So identifying some funders that may have the flexibility to do that has been a challenge.
Thank you, Amy.
Councillor Foster and then Councillor Ria.
Thank you. Just on page 387, the Spartina removal from Tairāwhiti River. I'd just like to get an update on that and find out whether we're happy with the success of what was previously been happening and why the delays, what kind of weather conditions you need to, because I see you've two previous planned attempts have been cancelled through weather, and I'm just trying to understand what kind of weather would cause those cancellations. Obviously, when we do this, we need an extreme kind of weather event afterwards to flush it out. But yeah, I'd just like to get an update of if we're happy with what's been done and the progress for the future, if possible, please.
Through you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Foster. The spray program is due to go ahead this weekend.
Right.
We have really strict conditions set by the EPA on the use of the herbicide haloxyphop, which is what we're using to target the Spartina. And that includes not being able to spray around kura, spraying outside of school hours, not being able to spray during school holidays. We need to fit those restrictions in with the right tides because we need to allow drying time for the chemical to be absorbed, and then we need to have fine sunny weather with low wind because we can't have strong wind, otherwise we'll have spray drift. So there's quite a few key criteria that need to be met, and due to wind primarily, previously, we've had to cancel those previous attempts. So we're hoping this weekend the winds will remain light enough for us to be able to get it done.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and just in terms of the chemical being washed away, or the chemical is absorbed really rapidly by the Spartina, and the regular tidal flushing is enough. We've shown with the trial that we've done previously, there was no residue within the water in testing that was done immediately following that trial, and those tests were done independently.
And are we happy with what's happened to what we've already done? Is it working as the plan? As the Spartina grass dies, is it allowing the mud underneath to be flushed out? Yeah. I mean, I've had a couple of people who live on the river and seen it. They said it's been actually marvellous in front of their place. They see a great transition of the Spartina grass going and the river widening and deepening. So I've had positive feedback on what's been happening. Yeah, so.
Through Your Worship, we're really happy with the way that the trial has taken place. We've had very good success, and if you look at the trial area, you can see a few small patches where Spartina is starting to regrow. We knew that would happen, and those small areas will be targeted for maintenance as part of our biosecurity business as usual program. So we expect following this spray that there will be maintenance to do. It's always the way when you've got an invasive pest plant, you're very rarely ever going to get rid of all of it in the first go.
Councillor Ria.
Thank you, Worship. Just through you, just a few comments. I really enjoy when any biodiversity kaupapa come up. If you spent the last 3 years with me, you know I love our talking about our taiao. And I really just wanted to shine a light on some of the really awesome activities that were covered in the report, like the Citizens Assembly and inviting members of the wider community to be able to participate in a climate change space and what that might look like for the future of Tairāwhiti. That looks to be a really great initiative, and to see that they've already had 3 hui now to be able to wānanga and kōrero about climate change in the future in Tairāwhiti. The successful planting that's happening at the Wainaki project with the ngutu kāka protection and the 33,000 manuka and 10,000 other enrichment species for further development, the removal of wilding pines, and the ultimate goal of the regeneration of the Wainaki area. And also because I'm also a huge supporter of Te Mano Te Wai, so especially the work surrounding our estuaries, monitoring in the local estuaries, and also specific projects, the Haumanu too, I think it was, for the Tūranga Estuary mahi. So I just wanted to shine a light on lots of awesome, amazing biodiversity, climate change, sustainability projects happening within the biodiversity part of the report. Kia ora.
Okay, let us glide on. So we also got the Ranfurly Estuary Restoration. That's our stuff. We've spoken about PMAs, integrated catchment.
No, the only update at this stage was for our business case that's being finalised as part of the sustainable land use work that we've been doing with the Transition Advisory Group. We are going to receive the penultimate draft on Friday, and then it will go to the Mayor for sending out to ministers.
So when is it coming to council?
It will be at the next council meeting in December, but
okay.
we will try and load it up so we can have a read of it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, next we move on to grant funding. Anything people want to ask about the updates on the funds? That is page 391 and onwards. Councillor Alder.
Thank you, Your Worship. On page 392, Tairāwhiti Woody debris, just coming to terms with the format of the layout here, it's suggesting here that August 25 is 26 mil for woody debris. That's not the total amount spent to date, is it? Is that new funded?
That's correct. That's not the total amount spent to date.
And then skipping down to page 394, where Tokomaru Legacy Landfill, it's got a February 24 date of 4.5 mil for the Tokomaru Legacy. Has that been spent, or is it still yet to be spent?
Not all of that has been spent. I don't have the approximate spend year to date.
Okay.
But that project is underway.
It's underway. Right. Thank you.
Okay, so Councillor Foster.
Thank you. Page 322, Christmas Parade event.
322?
392.
392.
Funding, 2 lots of funding from, one with 25,000, one with 15,000 from Trust Tairāwhiti. So obviously, and the decision was on October 25. So are we going to see a Christmas parade?
I'm on a float, bro. I was asked to go on a float. I am holding a baby on a float.
My other question is,
Okay, you work.
is it going to be down Gladstone Road? Or is it going
I want you to just get your lollies and stuff ready to throw at not at the mayor and the baby, but my understanding is, because why would I be asked to go on a float if it will not go somewhere?
Wow, that's
So I hope then there will be, so we don't organise that. Who is the,
Someone know what's happening?
it's the 6th.
Yes, please.
It's in my diary.
It's a Facebook page that.
There's a float for them,
It was the 6th, I'm sure. 7th. So Sunday the 7th, watch this space.
Down Gladstone Road?
Larry, you just get your lollies ready. I'm not sure, I'm not sure, if I can just ask for clarity, who is organising this? Is it who knows, Anita?
Provider, it's a member of the community that is actually organising the event.
And this funding is with them?
We will circulate some more.
Yeah, good, because I mean, we used to have it down Gladstone Road every time, and then because lollies were being thrown often, kids were running towards traffic, there's health and safety issues, so it was banned from Gladstone Road, and that's the only venue that a successful Christmas parade is going to be on, where everyone benefits. So
I will make sure to give your feedback.
I would like to see it back on our main street again. That would be certainly.
Anita, would you be able to pass the information or the kind feedback to the organisers just to take into account? But I'm just saying, if they're not going to chuck lollies, I'm not sure if Anita, so we will circulate more information, but please come out, support that. It's Sunday the 7th. And,
4 p.m.
oh my goodness, I've got something at 3 to 5 p.m. Just that day, I've got something 3 to 5. Anyway, I will be on the float with my baby. Let's move on. Councillor Ria.
Just for the grant funding area, just want to acknowledge Asen Lewis, who was appointed to the Creative Communities Fund. He is a long time artist, 40 plus years in our community. He has exhibited work and engaged in kaupapa toi locally, nationally and internationally. So he's a great asset to add to the Creative Communities Fund.
Awesome, thank you for that. Okay. Councillor Telfer.
Just one more question on page 417, just around the Karakia flood resilience.
We're going to come to the recovery soon. It's a total different category. Nomai's going to do a presentation first and then open for... Oh, okay, so then, okay. What's your question about recovery?
No, it's just another one about grant funding. Yeah, it's just about the local waters done well support package of 183,000 from DIA. I was just wondering what that would be. Was that just going to go into the coffer, or what is it? Is it specified for something specific?
What page?
It's page 395.
395.
395.
September 2023. Oh, stretching my brain. Well, and there's Tim.
Yeah, so the DIA funding was, if you recall, the Three Waters reform of the previous government.
Yeah.
So they allotted an amount of funding for that reform.
Oh, okay. So
and then when the new government came in, the stewardship of that money were running with the DIA, and it was to be used for local water done well, but not to be extended any additional amount. So it was just the remaining monies left there.
Still, 183 is still there, but it's got to be assigned to something as yet.
No, it was just...
On my understanding, being utilised for our, essentially our water service delivery plan.
Right. Okay.
But yeah.
This wasn't ratepaying money.
Okay, so councillors, what's going to happen next? Thank you, Nadine, for your report. I am going to welcome Nomai, who is our recovery manager. We'll take the report as read, Nomai, and then Nadine,
Well, it's an attachment to this.
to your CEO report. So do you want to just lead us into it, and then Noma, you can answer all questions that come across.
So, thank you, through your worship. What you've received now is, this is essentially the information that we use in our meetings with government agencies and NIF, so National Infrastructure. And so it's actually just a really good dashboard for you to have a look through and get a sense of how things are tracking. Lots of activities. I think it might have been a couple of weeks ago signed off the last CAT 3 negotiation, so we're pretty much done in that space. So you can see the transport activities will be gearing up now that we're entering into a drier season. We did a lot of pre-work around procurement and contracting when we were in the wetter season. So I'll hand over to Noma if there's anything you want to add, and then we'll just take questions.
Kia ora tātou, ko Noma wai with toku ingoa, he uri au no Ngāti Porou me ngā puhi hoki, nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa. Just to add on to Nadine's update, the recovery program consists of 4 active programs, and there were 6 programs in total. So a program that has been completed prior to me coming in this year was the commercial sediment and debris. So that was around about an investment of about $12 million. So the programs that you'll see reported to you are around the regional transport work, which is roads and bridges. We've got flood resilience, flood intelligence. We've also got the future of severely affected land, which you may hear referred to as FOSL. And that's the Category 3 and Category 2 funds that are available for homeowners. The community-led recovery plans, so that was a piece of work that came out quite early, and there's been a range of funds being granted to those plans. And what's not in the reporting attachment that you have is the large woody debris program. And just to answer Councillor Alder's earlier comment or question, yeah, we've had an additional $26 million awarded for that program of works. We've spent $50 million to date. Just like Nadine has suggested, there's quite a bit of work that is about to be undertaken. It'll be one of our largest civil construction programs for the region to date. The work in the woody debris area has spent most of its time removing debris out of areas of public spaces that are putting life and assets at risk. The next phase of the program, thanks to some innovative AI mapping tools, they're about to enter into what we call behind the forest gates. So working with those forest owners to look at what solutions can be applied to reduce the risk of debris that sits in those areas. The flood resilience work around the Waipawa Stop Bank, that is nearing completion and is also seen as a piece of work that is leading across Aotearoa. But our priority area in the flood resilience work is the solutions for the Tikaraka community. So no doubt you will hear quite a bit around that. The flood intelligence work was around improving our data and replacing our legacy flood forecasting system. Whilst that received the smallest amount of investment, that has had some huge outcomes achieved in there. And so alongside the replacement of flood forecasting systems, we've also improved the resilience around some of our flood warning sites. And the projects are also allowed for the installation of some groundwater monitoring bores in the city that we didn't have prior to that. I think probably that's about it. FOSL, Category 3, as Nadine said, we hope to see that begin to wind down. So that's a voluntary buyout process that was made available for homeowners, and that was a co-investment fund with the Crown, with Council. And then we also have another program in there called Category 2P, which is to support homeowners who were impacted through Cyclone Gabrielle, and to provide a mitigation solution for them to reduce the risk in the location that they're at. And that solution is usually either a lifting of the home or some form of retention structure on the property. That's the recovery program at a very high level. See if there's any questions.
Thank you for that, Nomai. Councillor Alder.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for the report, Nomai. My question's around the Tairāwhiti flood resilience spend. NIF funded 12 million, which I presume was their take on what it would have cost. Our modelling and reassessing of the situation has resulted in significant land purchase and a doubling of the cost of the whole scheme to upwards of 22 million. Can you assure us that this blowout of the plan is not going to slow down the project? So the extra cost, looking for the extra money, is that going to slow the build in securing?
Sorry, no, if I just first, if I may, through the Mayor, just to clarify that it's not a budget blowout. When we put up the request to the Crown or the DPMC, and we negotiated the amount of funding at that time, we did say not everything was known about how much money we needed to deliver a scheme. At that time, we were very much in still kind of early recovery. It was the same with what we might need for complex dropouts, etc., the bridges. So that was the best possible guess we could make then, knowing that we may fall short. So I wouldn't refer to it as a budget blowout because we didn't have all the information and the modelling had been completed. Now that we have information and we've worked with the community around what the preferred scenario is, it is significantly more than what was initially assumed at that time, given the best information that we had.
Sorry, budget blowout was the wrong term, but the scope of the operation has doubled in size due to the purchasing of considerable amounts of land to widen the river, which is arguably the correct thing to do. Just an assurance that this isn't going to slow down the securing the safety of Tairāwhiti.
Tim, sorry, and also no, my Tim's in the room as well, he might want to add.
Tim.
In answer to Councillor's question, it could, I believe in my mind, could slow down because you cannot start a project without first having it funding approval, and this is the extension to that. And I'll just reiterate what Nadine said about those first order of estimations were just that, a first order of estimations, and these are now figures which have more confidence in them because they're actually measured, and it's allowing for a couple of scenarios. One includes moving the stop banks to allow room for the river to move, which is now recognised as good practice for higher events, and some of the other numbers are still yet to go through a process of landowner engagement and compensation. So, yeah, but it could indeed delay the project. If you don't have funding to start a project, you can't start a project.
Thank you.
Councillor Foster, thank you.
As far as the Category 3 buyouts go, at the moment, there's 2 houses in Graham Road. One's been removed already. There's another one to be removed tomorrow. There's another house at the end now that is going to be on its own. I've been in contact with me. They would like to know what the land is. There any future use of the land that's been anticipated yet? That's one question. And the other question would be, do we contact the other landowners to see what effect it could be on them? Because this particular person is really quite on her own, old lady, and vulnerable on her own. There's no lighting down there, no fencing, no nothing. So I'd just like to know if we do consult with neighbouring properties, find out if there is any concerns from them when we go through this exercise. Please.
Yeah, Your Worship, Councillor Foster. So to answer both questions, firstly, once we have made the site safe, which is usually demolition or relocation of the home and the other assets on that site, we then have to follow a policy process to understand future use of that land. And so there are some strict policy settings in place that were adopted by council for us to do that. So in answer to your question for those particular sites, that has not been analysed yet, and that will be undertaken through the team here in council. To answer your second question around the surrounding residents, yes, absolutely. The teams do work with those surrounding residents once plans have been approved, and they share those plans with those residents and work closely with them through that process. We can follow up with that resident for you, Councillor Foster, and make sure that she's got any concerns addressed.
Okay, thank you so much, Namai. That would be awesome. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Any other recovery-related questions of Nomai or Nadine? If not, thank you, Nomai, for joining us online. Thank you, Nadine, for your report. Councillor Ria.
I'll move the report.
Moved by Councillor Ria, seconded by Councillor Muir. All in favour? Aye. Contrary? Carried. I want to say thank you to our new councillors for joining us today. Thank you, Anne, for joining us, and everyone else. Thank you, Sam, for being available online. Thank you to staff for an interesting report today. Thank you, Julian and Phil, for organising everything. I now formally close this meeting. So what we're going to do is have a quick 5-minute break, and then everyone come back. So I adjourned the meeting earlier because we do want to make sure the public can also see this today, and whānau and friends of Andy. But it is a great privilege today, and with joy and sadness, that it is lovely to welcome you back into the chambers today, Andy. It is, if I think about the last 12, 13 years that I have been on council, I think every time with fondness at the calm, respectful, informative, sometimes testy way, but you always were carrying the mana of this chamber with you. And so I want to acknowledge you today. I do want to say on behalf of all of us here, you have left massive footprints. You have made huge changes in this community. You have carried the community aspirations with you. You have made your whānau so proud. Sue, it's lovely that you are here today. Welcome to your kids and moko here today as well. I do want to give a big old shout out to Josh in the back as well. Kia ora, Josh, I didn't see you earlier. And all your friends and whānau here today who are saying with us, we're so proud of what you have done. Your journey has been with so many of these projects we have done. So many of those projects take a long time, and you were in the privileged position to be part of the development of some of those and also be able to be there when we cut the ribbon. So on behalf of myself, I want to say thank you for the wonderful support you have always offered myself and this council. Thank you for the friendships we have made over the years, and those friendships are for life, because once you sit around this table, you do make friendships because there are shared worries, shared aspirations, and it is lovely that we are able to welcome you here today. Before I ask you to speak, I am going to invite the lovely Sue to come up here as well. Yes, yes, Sue. I can come your way, Sue, if you want to. I can come your way because part of this is being a councillor or being the mayor is not a journey that you do on your own. It is often weird hours, it's sometimes a thankless job, and someone needs to keep the home fires burning. So I do want to say to you, Sue, thank you for the wonderful support you've given our friend. And this, look how it is colour-coded with all the around here. But I just want to acknowledge the time, the effort, and the support you have given Andy and allowed him to spend all that time with us. Really. Why is people not saying, wow?
Wow.
I do want to give this tonga to you to say thank you for the wonderful work you have done on behalf of our community, the time that you have put in. And when you look at this, look at it with pride and also remembering the friendships that follow us. Thank you, my
Ngatamari kitoake terangie haere anae taukurie horahiae matariki kite whenua te maramatanga mo te motue ki a te pu he puawai honore mo te pani mo te rawa kore whakamau ko taku titiro te rere ngā o te rā tau ana te harurue ki te manawa horahia e matariki ki te whenua te maramatanga mo te motue ia tipu he puawai honore mo te pani mo te rawa kore mo te rawa kore.
Someone's lighting up the back there with a stopwatch and a 2-minute bell, they can get stuffed. Me mai tai tātou mō te tātou whamariki mō tātou mokopuna. About the start of this century, skateboarding, I'm sorry if this is going to be a bit of a history lesson.
We're here for it.
Skateboarding became a huge thing. My business, Action Surf Shop, was recognised retailer to the sport. At the time, council response to the huge growth and pleasure our youngsters were getting from the sport was to impose a bylaw and set a $50 fine for pesky skateboarding. My shop became a conduit for complaint. I presented to council for the first time. They needed a place to do it. As things didn't get better, we organised a protest skate down the main street on a Saturday morning. There were well over 100 skaters making noise. Those efforts and profile led to a suggestion that I should try getting into the centre. After much thought and finding the successful sale of my business, I gave it my full consideration. It was a challenge against the grain of my introvert Aquarian personality type, but I threw my hat in and was soon called Councillor Cranston, something I never got used to. That was 2004. The immediate work was getting a site and the initial development of the Alfred Cox skate park. This seemed easily achieved due to the noise, but the ease was an anomaly. The extreme complexity and often sheer size of our challenges, especially financial, usually means our project delivery is long and drawn out. Talking in tens of millions of dollars became the new norm, but I have a real pride in what has been achieved and have been grateful of the opportunities to contribute. Me ara nui, me whakariti pai tātou. The long-term plan is a crucial council undertaking. Due to the last 6 years of disruption, it has not been a mainstream activity. I assume retaining some experience would be of benefit. Council will now go into the process having just one councillor who's been engaged in this complex process. Once the plan sets the parameters, it still needs drivers from governance, management and the community working together to its intended outcomes. At the end of the day, true satisfaction as a councillor comes from getting stuff done. Past councillor Pat Seymour set the bar high and demonstrated the need to be hands-on as a governance agent and a community conduit to council. I've tried to follow that example. Me te aki tātou I te taiao, me te aki hoki mō rā ka te hiki mai. An early project in my terms was cleaning up our bay of the directly piped sewage. The dollar numbers we were working for staggered me. This multi-million-dollar project had Meng as the driver, and the bio-trickling plant was my first 2 terms my primary focus. It was our primary focus. It was research, planned, budgeted, altered, replanned, rebudgeted ad nauseum. There were meetings, site visits, expert presentations, etc. But it got there. Now backed up with the Drainwise program, the bay environment is an entirely more happy place. Sadly, some community members simply don't keep up. As recently as the Just Gone By campaign, we're accused of pumping sewage into the bay. Due to our efforts, this is simply not the case. Me whai whare hapori te hapori, nā hanga mātua. Our aged and unsatisfying public pool was a significant issue, which turned into a 17-year project commitment, with a steering group as a primary driver. Nona and I were right on board from day one, then Brian Wilson and I, and the final term of completion with Terry Sheldrake. There were many days of feeling it was never going to happen, but we now have something awesome, an asset that the community can enjoy and be proud of. Mo te hauora me te oranga mo te hapori katoa. Cycle and walkway paths were taking off everywhere around the world and New Zealand. We were late to the party, but they were entered into the plan. A crucial partner was Gisborne Cycle and Walkways Trust, now the Tairāwhiti Tairāwhiti Trails Trust. They saw the value in having a councillor support advocate, which I was happy to be. It was great to be involved in the hugely popular Oneone cycleway development and the inner harbour beautification. And in true councillor protocol, I'll declare a conflict here because it was my awesome, talented daughter, Kylie, who project managed this. The cycleway out to Wainui was established. The latest project, which is in the plan, is the Tairāwhiti shared path, and I'm really disappointed at being removed as the councillor champion for this vision. Champions will be required. The Lions Club co-opted my help to establish the Aupuni Junior Bike Park. This is another fantastic asset and the first part in the grand plan to make our city cycle-friendly, but more importantly, have our community enjoying and benefiting from activity. E whakauti I ngā hitari o tō tātou rohi. We were made aware of the travesty of Makaraka Cemetery, where 90 historical headstones were simply buried in the trench and forgotten. Councillor Debbie and myself worked with the Friends of Makaraka Trust to help right this wrong by supporting their intentions and enabling the uplifting of the historic headstones and renovating of this significant site. E pai mō ngā tamariki e pai mō tātou katoa. Some years ago, an audit made us aware of the inadequacy of our playground infrastructure across the region, and there's been a lot of effort into writing this. The Tairāwhiti Play Network Upgrade Program has been working and has delivered across the region with multiple renovations and installations. The Botanical Gardens Playground is a wonderful award-winning effort, and there were also installations at Titirangi, Waikirikiri, Manutuke, Tolaga, Tiararoa and Ruatoria in an ongoing effort to be a better place for our children. Ko tātou te hunga te haipapa mō te rohi katoa. The rural townships were identified as neglected, and a budget for an upgrade program was incorporated into the plan with an intention to realise their need and address that neglect. This is an established work in progress and an ongoing recognition in the plan. Ka hiahiatia te ahurea te tātou katoa. About 12 years ago, we were made aware that the two local theatres were simply not up to the job, and the community was desperately underserved. Productions did not have Gisborne on their radar because of the inferior resources. The theatre's refurbishment program was established and driven by a project management group. Pat Seymour was a staunch champion in this, and I was happy to assist. Now we're offered so much more. The library went through a similar revitalisation and is looking and operating amazingly. E noho ana mātou ka rāui te maru o Titirangi maunga. I love the transformation of Titirangi Kaiti Hill with the flourishing native plantings, so much better than the scrubby pine trees, and it's really bringing back the native birdsong. With the walking tracks, it is now an awesome destination to be proud of and pleasingly well utilised. Kei te ata whakatika mātou I ngā rāru. The noise about roads, potholes and affordable rates is justifiably loud and not forgotten. It's always a primary concern. It's often forgotten, but councillors are ratepayers too and feel the same frustrations. I assure you, if the solutions were simple, the problems would have been solved long ago. Even with the criticism of their state, roads are always a work on with very challenging issues and solutions. Despite all the noise and exasperation, there have been considerable improvements. We won't wake up one morning and throw in a switch and see all the problems solved, but the ongoing nature of the work should be respected. Unfortunately, this issue will always be a long game. Hei maha tonu ngā mahi kei mua ia tātou. Unfinished work does not sit well with me. With that in mind, I feel intensely council business is my unfinished business. Aside from all the council BAU, I had as some of my current work-ons, the solid waste minimisation solutions, the Tairāwhiti shared path, and the community facility strategy, and in particular the multi-purpose stadium. I'm saddened to not be in the tent anymore on these initiatives. E mai tēnā hira te tātou whakahaere pāra mō nā rā kei te heke mai. We need solutions for our waste. Along with Aubrey, I was working directly on the solid waste management steering group. This is a priority work and crucial to Tairāwhiti and must have committed support with committed governance drivers. Ko te hāpori hauora hihiri hoki te tahi aronga mātua. A relationship lasting virtually as long as my term in council has been a position as a trustee on Sport Gisborne Tairāwhiti, now known as Whiti Ora Tairāwhiti. From the start, the need was identified to have a relationship and a strong connection into council with our shared community purpose. So I put my hand up and have sat on that trust since. One of our shared purposes has been the work on the community facility strategy. The multi-purpose stadium is not a nice to have, it's essential. Why should Tairāwhiti not have what everywhere else has? It will need strong support. Te kaupapa moni te rāru pūtia. It is important to understand the setting of the rates and how it relates to the plan. There is a complexity of stating an intent of keeping the rate increase to 2 or 3%. It's easy to say, but with our limited ratepayer base, incredibly difficult to achieve. Inflation alone has us in a standstill position. We do need to continuously look at our efficiencies in everything we do. Aside from that, the only real way is deselecting and not doing stuff. The caution here is that if we're standing still, we're going backwards. That's kind of how we got here. Through our consultation planning, the community comes to us with issues, ideas, desires and good intention. It goes into the grand should we, shouldn't we basket. which through budgeting is financially analysed. Our primary income stream to pay for that is rates. What the council has been doing really well, and full credit must be given to Redette and Nadine, is achieving alternative funding sources. But there will always be ratepayer funded expectation and responsibility, which is a challenge with our limited rates funding income. Kia tino marama tātou ki a tātou, me kōrero tātou ina reo o te tahi ki te tahi. Coming into council, there was frequent exposure to te ao Māori. After several confused exposures to situations with considerable te reo, I decided I must learn te reo, and right up to last month, I was still having 2 or 3 lessons a week. It's not easy, and over the years I committed thousands of hours and dollars of my own to become proficient. It saddens me that my new reality will not have the exposure and contact to warrant carrying this on. Our council has been brave and committed leader in recognising, respecting and honouring the treaty principles which can only lead to a fairer society for us all. Me titero tātou ina ahainga katoa he mahi ngā tahi. I am grateful that my profile as a council led to my position as a founding member and chair of the Little Known Connects Trust. Though now defunct, that small trust was able to achieve so much in a relatively short time. There were 3 main projects successfully implemented. The Bikes in Schools program established cycleways, tracks, and provided hundreds of bikes and helmets in 17 of the region's schools. The House of Science initiative supplies educational science learning kits on a rotational basis to schools after having recognised a huge fall-off in scientific education. The third initiative was the Manaia Kalani project, an effort to really lift digital learning and education in about 14 schools to keep pace with digital education advances, particularly in lower decile situations. E mahi nui atu tēnei. Recently, I have been disheartened by a seeming move to councils being more singly focused as simply critics and ratifiers. Many use the basis of meeting attendance as the job description and performance indicator. This tells but half the story. Meeting attendance stats are measured on formal meetings alone. With 100% meeting attendance, a work ethic based solely on formal meetings basis would in time be a 0.3 FTE at best. This dispels the myth that councillors are not fairly compensated. Some are, some aren't. What's not understood or recognised is site visits, community meetings, workshops, public interactions, and simply being there where and when needed. Also not understand is the benefit of being further engaged in collaborations intent on achieving the positive outcomes for the community. Jumping into all the connected tents. In the early days, the question was, who's going to champion that? Councils need to commit to the challenging, time-consuming but satisfying auxiliary roles, particularly the external connection roles. It's a crucial factor in successful delivery. Don't just be a councillor, be a champion. It takes time to work through the governance versus management roles and separations. This understanding is crucial to council. Council still must be a team effort. Success can only be the success of the team. The current propensity of a vocal minority expecting councillors to find fault and point fingers of accusation and blame at our own organisation is in fact generating some of our biggest challenges. Direction setting, strategy and oversight sit up front of the role, and we apply systems to monitor and protect on behalf of the community. We participate in setting processes of enablement. The propensity to be accusatory is counterproductive. We don't manage operations. Me whai rangatira pai tātou. In 2017, we're looking for a new chief executive. After the interview, we were locked on 2 considerations. At the time, I was chair of the Community Development Committee, which was Nadine's department. I'd worked closely with Nadine, so I was leaned on to advise how this young, virtually inexperienced at that level, wahine, would handle the role. There was the perception that it was too soon. And in all honesty, I think even Nadine felt that. All I can say is thank you, Nadine, for so ably justifying our decision, for stepping up and delivering. The councillor role is a doddle compared to that of the CE, and your captaining of this message ship has and continues to serve us well. Ko te oranga he mea hanga e nā hohona. Josh Whārihinga, you were the final straw in my decision to stand again. I knew you would be a huge loss to council. You gave such early notice of your departure. I analysed their remaining experience and saw the role my experience would serve. Your understanding of the role, lucidity and community heart are not easily transferable. And your ability to nail the debate and sum up the situation with clarity and understanding is something I have huge respect for. Without council, our paths may have never crossed. To have gained your friendship is one of the better outcomes of the role. Riet, you numno Gisborne Tasty, South Africa se Feliz is Tairāwhiti se Vince. Onted in Bora Lea Vint.
That makes sense to me. South Africa's loss is Gisborne's win. Did anyone else pick
Well, a couple of people in the room who don't speak that. You now call Gisborne home. South Africa's loss is Tairāwhiti's win. We have found a true leader. Really, who would have thought 10 years ago that Tairāwhiti would have a South African immigrant as our mayor, with insatiable positivity and a propensity for hard work. It has been Tairāwhiti's rock. The understanding of the role and ability to establish strong relationships at all levels of society have and continue to serve us well. Waia danki whanaos o mā.
There we go. Thank you very much from everyone.
So, in summary, someone searching for reconciliatory words described me as unflappable, but I would like to put it on record that I have definitely flapped. In council meeting, there are often two things which happen. The first is you wish you had said something, and the second is wishing you hadn't. Our families tend to become sounding boards. I have a fantastic family. My wonderful wife Sue is always there and keeping it all together. Her unfailing support and position as a sounding board and sanity check has always been appreciated. If I'm a good man, it's absolutely because I have a good woman. Not, as the adage says, behind me, but beside me. And there are newish loves in my life. Freya and Job, my grandchildren, my angels, representing the generations I was truly working for. Freya made me this card. You're my number one after the elections. And here to Grandy, so sorry that you did not get the job. Lots and lots of love from Freya. Made me think we should be giving the vote to 7-year-olds. Jock's 4, and his card was not quite as, it was a little less explainable. So, the volcano who drew somehow reflected what went on in my head. When I realised that I'd be throwing away men's councillor ties. Not that they got much use. Te hara takatoa I te takatahi, te ngāri e toa takatini, e waka iki noa. I've worked with 2 mayors, 4 CEs, 42 councillors, hundreds of council staff, and the community. So many fine people. There is huge satisfaction when I look at all the above in a Tairāwhiti before and a Tairāwhiti after scenario. We are a vastly better place. I feel privileged to have served the community, and I'm hugely grateful to have been put in this role for so long. It has given my life very real purpose and intention, and that's what I'll miss the most. I have the clarity that in council there will always be unfinished business, and sadly I will now have to leave my unfinished business in the hands of others. Don't screw it up.
Ko te aroha anō he wai, e pupu o ke anawa, he awa e mapuna mai ana I roto i te whatu manawa. Tōna matapuna he honu, aina ia ka rere anō. Ko tōna matapuna he honu, aina ia ka rere anō. He tae timu, he tae pari, he tae ope, he tae roa, he tae nui. He tae nui. He tae nui.
I just wanted to say a few words just on behalf of council staff and just acknowledge the contribution and kindness that you've displayed to us at council for the many, many years. When I came on board in 2009, that's right, Andy, that was a long time ago, as part of the community development space, and then Andy was our chair for community development, and so we got to work with each other for quite some time on some big issues, big kaupapa, different councillors at the time as well, and all through that Andy has been very kind, very supportive in what we've done as staff. So I just wanted to, on behalf of all the staff at council and myself, thank you, Andy, thank you for your service and everything that you've done in support of this region. Kia ora.
Come on, Josh.
From here or from up there?
Oh, you can come to the front.
A very short minute. First of all, thank you very much, Your Worship. Thank you very much, councillors. Congratulations on getting in. Andy, huge loss for this current council. Absolutely huge loss for this current council. Well, I don't really want to speak about the loss. I actually want to speak publicly about who Andy is as a person. Andy, to me, is what real change looks like. You know, I've been in council for 4 terms. I've been in council for 4 terms, and the growth that I've seen from Andy in regards to the understanding around tikanga, the understanding around te reo Māori, the understanding of those positions where we are, or well, you guys are, because you guys are now agents of the Crown. Let's be honest about that. Council is by virtue under the Local Government Act, which is created by Parliament, which is an agent of the Crown, and Andy was able to really work out what that means in regards to living in Te Tairāwhiti, in regards to living in a community where over 50% of the population are Māori. Not only in a functional way, but also in a core values way. Andy, you demonstrated that today in your speech, my friend. You know, the weaving of te reo Māori, the weaving of kaupapa Māori, the weaving of those things that make Tairāwhiti, Tairāwhiti. I don't want to go on and on about the growth that I've personally witnessed over my time in council. To me, Andy is what real growth looks like. Andy is what real change looks like in this community. Thank you very much, Andy, for being such a great mentor to me, for being such a great friend. Being in council is a very difficult job, but you made my job inside of council much, much easier. Thank you very much, my friend. That's all I have to say. I don't want to be the person that get between you guys and Kai.
Now is our opportunity. If anyone wanted to say something, now is your time. Otherwise, we will have the opportunity to say something when we have a kai together. We do want to invite you and your family. We've got lovely food out here, and catch up with us, celebrate a wonderful time here, and just touch base before our paths split this afternoon. But even though we are not going to work together, I'm sure, Andy, your contributions in this town will be seen, like the Whitiora and the Tapuwai trails, different areas where we will proudly be watching you and seeing how you contribute in totally different ways. So I also want to acknowledge that aside from just being on council, you have worked on our behalf and on our community behalf in so many other community groups as well. So I look forward to catching up with you in that capacity and seeing where our paths cross going forward to work on behalf of our community. So thank you so much for coming and seeing us today, and I'm sure we will catch up soon again. But for now, everyone relax, grab some kai. Josh, are you going to bless our kai for us? And then we enjoy some time together as friends.
Nau mai ngā hoe hora nei, haere mai nā koe I whakatipua nuku I whakatipua arangi, hawhia kia rehua, kia tamaiti a mārama, e rongo whakeria ki runga kia tīna, tīna hui e Tairāwhiti.